Good morning, and welcome back to Hall of Fame. College football's Rise and Shine College Football Morning Show. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Busy giving Norm his treats before the stream. Yeah, his treats, he didn't get treats for a while there, Ryman. He didn't get treats for a while. Welcome into the show, everybody. Glad to see everybody in here. Ryman Lemon, Garrett Bullware, Eric Reheard, Bishop Frank, Mars Jams, Sugoi English one. Let's see. Did I say that right? Kimberly K. What's up, Kimberly K? Stephen G, Brian Sandlin, and Jimmy Satterfield. Check in as you get here. Make sure to wipe your feet, hit that like button, and appreciate everybody being in here as always. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about all the stirred up, upset SEC talking heads that think that it's so wrong that Teddy Lehman dared to take up for his Sooners and then kind of diss the program's not named Georgia or Alabama in the process. I would tell you that he had every right to say what he said. He wasn't wrong. This is what it is. David Whitehead, welcome into the show. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I don't know about all that, but thank you. As you guys can see, I got the Oklahoma versus the World t-shirt on today, though. You can always find that in our official show merchandise store. And it does feel like Oklahoma versus the World right now. Hey, thank you. Perfect. Time to hear the truth. Yeah, the truth is the truth. So how bad does Miami have to blow out Florida at the Swamp in the upcoming weeks at the beginning of the season for UF to fire Napier after that game? Well, it'd have to be pretty bad there, Anthony, I would believe. I don't know that that's going to happen right away either. I mean, it would have to be really bad, I think, for them to do that. I don't think they're going there. They're going to give him, unless he was to like lose a bunch of games off the start, I don't think they're going to fire him. They want to see if they can get, they're going to see what they're going to see out of DJ Lagway first, I think. And I believe that, yeah. You versus, hey, Chris, you always coming in here dissing. OU versus the world. OU versus the world is what it is. And we've been saying that for a long time. It's always OU against the world. All right. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it would take a lot. 49 days till kickoff. I agree. The more I thought about Teddy's comments, he's right. Yeah, look, kind of got into it with Cody from not Cody Light, but Cody from High Top Sports, the professor. I mean, not that we really got into it so much, but it was more I just kind of letting him know what that was because he came at me. I mean, it was right away. He just said, let me just get it here. He said, these guys don't have a clue, talking about Gabe and Teddy. And I said, why do you say that? Saying that all the schools besides Bama and Alabama are essentially worthless in the SEC. And I said, that's not what he said. Exactly what he said. None of the programs have done anything in the last 4 or 5 years. He did say that. He's not wrong on that. And basically, though, this is what happened, though. Everybody's automatically assuming that OU is going to come in, fall flat on their face, and, you know, nobody in the league is any more stable, though, aside from Georgia and really Georgia. Alabama, I'm not bad-mouthing Alabama in any way, shape, or form. I think that Kalen DeBoer is one of the best coaches in the country. I think that they still have, as you'll see on the video that I'm going to be dropping later, I got to finish editing it, but I did some stuff with Adam McClintock, the CFB professor. They've got the, I think it's Matrix Analytical is the name of his company. I got to make sure about that. But anyway, he's the one that does all the power rankings. They've been ahead of ESPN and every other power ranking in a lot of areas for a lot of years. And what he was saying was that, look, stability wise, they'd like to see Brent Venables kind of take a step forward this year. They loved what he did last year, but when he was a defensive coordinator, he was the best. He was ranked number 1 in the country, period, point blank. There wasn't anybody above him. And that was the same year that Dan Lanning was still at Georgia and they won the national championship. So to me, there's no two ways around it. Now, what I would tell you is Teddy was absolutely right, because what he was getting at was he was saying that, look, when it comes to the rest of the country, and that would include Alabama, they do still have to figure it out on the offensive side. They're going to learn a new system there. We don't know if Jalen Milroe is going to take that next step forward. I kind of think that he's going to, because he's kind of a special type of player, right? I would also say that you still have to kind of step in and do it. And to come in after Nick Saban, there's at least questions, right? I'm not saying I would be concerned, just like we were saying on K. Chris's show last night. I'm not saying that I would be concerned if I'm an Alabama guy, but there's questions. When it comes to Oklahoma, those questions are, quote, concerns for everybody. Now, we're going to be talking to Jake Crane from, not today, though. I was trying to get him to get on the show. He's got doctor's appointments with his wife today. They're having a kid, but he kind of went after Teddy on the show, on their show yesterday, Crane and Company. And I think the way that they're all taking it is kind of the wrong way, right? It was like it was just out of the blue from nowhere that Teddy just said this stuff. Well, and they did say, you know, he was just saying that basically it's not just the fans. And I think that Jake and them were saying, they were trying to say on the show, you know, listen, a lot of the fans are saying what they're saying. And, you know, you shouldn't be saying that either, but Oklahoma fans should not be saying this. And if Teddy's saying that around the program, or if anybody in that locker room thinks the same thing, they're going to go 5-7. Well, obviously that's not what Teddy was not saying, that nobody's good. He wasn't saying that Oklahoma was going to come in and dominate or anything like that. He just wasn't. All right. What he came in to talk about was that there's really nobody aside from Georgia that's any more stable right now than is Oklahoma, or has any less to prove than what Oklahoma does. That's just a fact. Oh, don't compare us to Ole Miss. I'm not comparing you to Ole Miss. You're not as good, Justin. Whatever. Look, I'm not even sitting here to badmouth anybody in the SEC. And I think then that's the point that I was wanting to make with this entire thing. Here's the bottom line. I think that Teddy was reacting, like I said last night on the show, he's reacting not just to what fans are saying. This is coming from a lot of different people. This is coming from, as we saw last week in the video that I did, look, Barrett Sallee, who's an SEC quote-unquote expert. He's on Sirius XM. He's part of the mainstream media that covers the SEC conference. His podcast isn't super popular right now. He just started it. But it gets out there, and he is a voice that gets heard all around the country. He's out there saying stupid shit all day long about Oklahoma. Every time I've heard him speak about Oklahoma, he said stuff that's completely wrong. When he was on that SEC podcast, what did he say? He goes in there and starts talking about, okay, yeah, they were a little better on defense. We expect that, you know, but what's going to happen? And you know, are they going to get the quarterbacks that they got with Lincoln Riley there? Well, they got Jackson Arnold, and Lincoln Riley wasn't here, and he did bring up Jackson. But then he said, but after that, what's going to happen if they don't put an offense on the field And this is, mind you, this is after their top 5 in the country on offense last year with Dylan Gabriel. But mind you, he's saying that. And are they going to be able to continue to get guys out of the portal or out of high school that are those Heisman type quarterbacks? No, they're not. And he was saying that Drink in Missouri were better set up for success in the long run in the SEC. That's asinine. In what universe? Then this, of course, this last week when he's talking about, even just look at it geographically in relation to where the best players in the country are. I don't see how they're going to recruit well enough to compete in the SEC. They're not going to be Alabama. They're not going to be Georgia. They're not going to be Texas. What are you talking about? First off, geographically don't mean crap to Oklahoma. They can recruit all over the country. They always have. Secondly, they're 100 miles away from the most fertile recruiting ground in America. Same place they always get players from. They also have a pipeline into Florida. In any event, this is all coming from people aside from dumbass fans that we know are out there. We know they're all out there. Fine. And you should expect it because fans in the SEC are, a lot of them are very similar to Oklahoma fans, a little off. A little expectations are high and they talk a lot of shit. That's cool. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with all that. But and he wasn't really doing that either. That was one clip that they, first off, I don't even think they watched that entire clip, but if you watch the show, you see that there's context involved there that really isn't being spoken about. Even with Cody, he was saying people are not discussing Texas and OU. People are just waiting and seeing. We don't know how you guys are going to translate. They made the playoffs last year and are always overhyped, but they're kind of like Miami or Notre Dame. It's the schedule that is the killer. Y'all aren't going to play 5 weeks of powder puss before your first real game in the conference. Well, again, as I was saying before, and I said this on Chris's show last time when SEC Mo was bringing it up, in what universe, until this year, whenever you come in, would you be picking Tennessee, Auburn, Ole Miss, Missouri, any of those schools, Kentucky, any of them, to finish ahead of Oklahoma, to be able to beat Oklahoma on a given year? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. No, you're right, Coach. I don't know who's he, but there's a lot of people that aren't looking at the history of college football. What's up there, T-Boomer, Coach, Michael Deesh, Stink-ass Cat, Bailey, Chris, Justin Thomas. I don't care about what you are all the time. What are you right now? You're going to tell me that you're better than Ole Miss today, right now? Because you know you're not. You know you're not. Is Auburn going to be better with the coach that you have? Probably. Still hadn't done it yet, though. But I would also say that I wouldn't be that surprised if you beat Ole Miss at some point this year or whenever I don't know when you play them next. Whatever. I wouldn't be surprised. But you're not as talented. I can tell you one thing, your quarterback situation isn't as good. I like your receivers that you're bringing in, but they're young. Yeah. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about, Hank. Exactly right. This is the entire narrative. And I think that because last week you heard Teddy, or I don't know how many people saw the tweet, but he was talking about stop giving these guys interaction with their content. That's all they're doing is trying. And I've said this a bunch too. A lot of that stuff is clickbait. They are trying to get you to click. They know Oklahoma fans will pounce immediately when you diss them. And this is a proud fan base that expects a lot out of its program. They love this coach. They love the talent that's coming in. And to Jake and them's credit, they said yes, they are recruiting well, and I just think that, but I don't think that any of them expect Oklahoma to be able to come in and compete in year one, because as he always says, they're always saying it's not the one-off games or whatever. It's the game that you have to deal with after you've had to expend so much. We've heard Coach I say the same thing. I get it. But everybody talks about Oklahoma like they're the same as those other programs. And it's just not. I mean, I don't think that you can understand unless you've been a fan of a blue blood like this that has continued to be relevant and winning all these years. You start talking about Texas, yeah, of course it's going to piss off an OU fan because they never beat Oklahoma. They finally win a conference title, and it's only honestly because of what happened in the Oklahoma State game. Now, Oklahoma should have never allowed them to be in it. Bad play calling. There's a lot of crap that went on that allowed that game to be close, but they still shouldn't have lost it. That touchdown would have won the game. Drake got tackled in the end zone. That was a screw job. There's no two ways around it. What's the excuse for losing to Kansas? Not one. Again, you just can't really lose that game. That being said, if you're supposed to get better from year to year, and you've got a lot of people coming back, you're probably better at quarterback, maybe not as experienced, but definitely got a higher ceiling. Why would we expect Oklahoma to be worse? I get it. You're going into a tougher conference. And I'm not saying that this is a completely top-heavy league. I think that's a myth. I think it's very good from top there, but there's definitely levels to the shit. There's definitely levels. And those levels that aren't right now, either Alabama or Georgia, there's no way you should just automatically pick them to beat Oklahoma any week, anywhere. Because OU, the expectation, what do you think the expectation is for Brent Venables? Do you think he's not going in with every game, every week, expecting to win? Absolutely he is. And this Coach Ricks is a perfect comment. They can't let go of the idea that this team is different than Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma teams. It's not even climbed to close. They've already taken on the attitude of Brent Venables. They're physical, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're more talented everywhere. Everywhere. What is this can't leave the chumps in the game stuff? Cody, are you working right now, or are you just because if you want to come in and talk about this, but you're not going to come in here acting a fool, well, we can have this conversation, but I'll tell you the same thing I was telling you in the text yesterday, too. I'm not saying that I've been one of the people that thinks that Florida is a lot better than what a lot of people are giving them credit for. I've been saying that Florida is going to be one of those teams that nobody expects to beat Texas. That might. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you say Oklahoma, they get clicks. Oh, yeah, they're just going to click it up. Exactly. Yeah, I know you do, Coach. Next year's OU's year, Daniel Looney says. Okay, and if you've watched this show very much, Daniel, and I'm sure you've been in here before, you know that I've always pointed to 2025 as the year that Oklahoma should really be competing for everything. But some things have happened over this year that moved it up to where they can compete for it right now. For all this talk about the offensive line, do you guys know that there's not an offensive line group in the SEC that has more starts on that line than Oklahoma? Not one. Neither does Ohio State. There's more starts on the Oklahoma offensive line from portal ads and all that stuff than there is of any of the contenders, including Ole Miss and Georgia and Texas. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. First of all, I don't really give a crap if that was the case or not. Bill Bedenbaugh is, if not the best offensive line coach in the country, he's right up there with them. They will be fine. All they really have to be, in my opinion, look, first off, Jacob saying that they're replacing all 5 starters is kind of a myth anyway, because Jacob Sexton would have been a starter had he not been hurt in the early part of the season. He was a starter at the end of the year. He was starting over Tyler Guyton most of that time. People don't really think about that when they start yapping about that stuff. Abichi Wiwu, he's been a starter since he got to college at North Texas. He was a freshman All-American, and he's a freaking stud. Michael Tarquin, Cody, you'll know who he is. You'll remember him. He was really good when he was at Florida. He wasn't as great at USC. Got a little smaller because, yoga instead of weights. Good Friday morning there, Neilio. Thank you for the super chat. Welcome into the show. Trap House Booming. My man. Shout out to Trap House Booming. Appreciate, hey, man, I enjoyed you. First of all, I was very flattered that you asked me to make that little video for your show. Secondly, I was happy to make it for you, and thanks a lot for putting it up there and sending people this way. I appreciate it. Auburn has a mean 3-game stretch. Us, Georgia, then Mizzou. They'll be a non-factor by November 1st. Wouldn't be surprised. All right. You're not going to act a fool. I'll send it to you, though. Yeah. I do believe they still only have OU playing 1 game per Saturday, just like everyone else. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Here's where I'm at with it. From what I was getting from, I'll just go with this for what Crane & Company was saying. And I understand what he was talking about, and I understand how everybody's getting wound up. Actually, I'll save this because if Cody's coming in, we'll just save it because I'll let him say what he wants to say, and then I'll go back at him with it. But there's some other stuff that we can look at along the way. Obviously, you have you've got a number of programs that have Oklahoma finishing anywhere from 8th to like 10th. They've got Brent Venables ranked anywhere from 8th to 11th in all these different power ranking scores. We saw yesterday, you heard SEC Mo last night saying that stuff as well. Trap House is the man. Hey, man, thank you. But, so there's all this stuff that Teddy was talking about is definitely, it wasn't like he just went unprovoked. Because a week ago, he was trying to tell all the rest of the OU fans to relax and quit freaking interacting with that content. And with those people that are just going after clicks. Yeah, I agree. I think that they are going to be better on the O-line. Again, they've got the best offensive line coach in the country. They've got a couple of freshmen that could be big time. That I know that there's some redshirt freshmen / sophomore guys that are ready to rock and roll too. I don't care if all those guys that have started start right away or not. If they don't, that means that the young guys beat them out or whatever, but that's still really good depth to have because to get through this season, what do they talk about all the time? Take a drink, competitive depth. You got to have it in the trenches, especially. They do have that. This stuff about Jackson Arnold and whether or not he's going to be able to deal with all the pressure and stuff that you're going to get in the SEC. Which defense are we going to play especially right off the bat, that's going to give anyone a tough time. If they're even average on the offensive line, which average isn't going to be that tough to get to. With all these guys, talent-wise in the backfield, all the talent at the receiver position, they're top 2 or 3. In the receiver room, there's no two ways around it. Of course, Ohio State's going to get all the love because of Brian Hartline. Every one of his players is supposedly okay. That's easy. Yeah, they can do that. Again, they've got more offensive line starts than Georgia does there, Shawty. They've got more offensive line starts with the guys that they've added through the portal. And yeah, they've got still more offensive line starts than anybody in the SEC. Ohio State, too. But of course you have to do it. You have to be deep. That's what I just said. Competitive depth everywhere. Again, there's not a single I don't know anybody here. Well, a couple of you guys are a little higher on them than I'm have higher expectations in year one than I have. But nobody's in here saying that Oklahoma comes in and dominates the league from year one. Never. You've never heard me say it. Never heard me say it. You've never heard Teddy say it or Gabe say it or anybody else. Nobody's saying that. What Oklahoma fans don't like is that but I said this last night too. Everybody expects that it's OU that's going to have, and maybe Texas, but OU and Texas are going to be the ones that have a hard time adjusting to the SEC. The SEC has to adjust to Oklahoma too. Yep. Name the last time they had a battle line. No, you're not. Again, there we go. Sure, he could. The thing is, look, if you guys have listened to me, what have I said often? What have I said often? You think I'm worried about Oklahoma's offense? I'm not. It's Oklahoma. Oklahoma plays offense in its sleep. That is not a problem. They're not making some drastic changes that everybody's got to get used to. We saw some things that, and I'm not saying everything that you look at is like the spring game is the end all be all thing. What you got to be looking at in the spring game is for little signs, right? Little signs that you were getting the right things out of whatever position we're talking about. What did you see out of Jackson? He threw the ball away, didn't run and get himself hurt. He had good pocket presence. He didn't have any turnovers. That's good because they were getting pressure. The line was nowhere near full at that point. Having some injuries, having some guys that were brand new to the system certainly weren't where they're going to be at the end of fall camp and after the first 3 non-conference games too. Yo. But that's what I'm saying. You're going to have to, SEC has to adjust to Oklahoma too. But again, and this is where I'm saying Teddy wasn't coming in and saying that they're coming in to dominate. We don't say that. I don't say that on this show ever. I said I've said probably 100 times, 2025 is that year that I expect Oklahoma to be competing for everything. Whatever they may be in 2024, I think they'll be better in 2025. And it stands to reason. It stands to reason. The other thing, yeah, this is a good point right here too, Michael. How many people SEC people fell for the annual Texas overhype. Thought they'd be more knowledgeable overall, but that's okay. No, see, again. Yeah. No doubt. Hey, look. Yeah, and I don't know that that's an easy game to win by double digits or whatever. I think you just win. You got to win it. That's a game you need to win. But look, I know that they've got some supposedly questions, deficiencies, whatever in the secondary. That's where the question comes in. With a receiving crew like you have, that could get you in trouble. And, like I said, Brian Hartline gets, they turn all those guys into 5 stars. And apparently this Smith kid is that guy. Right? He may be like their all-world dude right off the bat as a freshman. Okay, cool. And not saying that Ohio State doesn't pump them out at all. I'm not dissing Ohio State as far as their receiver room is concerned. But I know this. Who are you going to double team at Oklahoma? How are you going to do that? Because you've got bookend guys that are 6'5" and above, and you've got Deion Burks that you give him, try to cover him with a linebacker. See how that works out for you. I would just tell you that it's going to be tough to stop them. And if you have you having some issues in the secondary, which I think same is going to be true for Mizzou. That's where they're thin at, is in the secondary. Ole Miss, we'll see. Third and Golding struggles in the secondary. I've heard them talking about that. I'll send the link right now. Hold on. It's coming. All right. It's in there. Yeah, it's supposed to be. If he is. I mean, look, there's other guys in that room too. It's the depth is what you like the most out of it, right? Yep. Right. I mean, there's a lot of good things to expect. We're going to wait for Cody to get in here and we'll continue the talk. I'm going to let him kind of make his point and then yeah. Mm-hmm. I've heard people say different. I've heard LSU is going to be the best offensive line in the conference. Texas has got Texas definitely has a good O-line. They had a good O-line last year too, and they couldn't get 1 yard on Oklahoma in the Red River game. 1 yard, 4 chances, 1 yard. Nope. And OU's defense is better than it was a year ago. Welcome to the show, Cody Sprague, the professor from High Top Sports. You gonna behave yourself?
Always.
Let me crank you up a little bit here. I don't know. Can everybody hear him okay?
Might be me too. I got the kids. I'm watching the kids, so.
Okay, well, you
too much background noise.
Well, no, do you have your volume turned up just a little bit?
Yeah. Is that better?
There you go. That's
okay.
That's better for me anyway. Can you guys hear him okay? Give me a 1. Somebody give me a 1 if you can hear him pretty good. Welcome into the show, Cody.
Yeah.
Now I told him we were having that chat yesterday, and we can go ahead and play kind of what he said, and then I'll have you go ahead and just react to it.
Okay.
Since you did yesterday as well. Let me get that up there. There it is. All right. So.
One in SEC. Oklahoma has out-recruited everyone in the conference except for Georgia and Alabama. Or been like right on the level with Texas and LSU. Do you know how many coaches in this conference have won an SEC championship?
One. Kirby.
Do you know how many coaches in this conference have
Hold on.
been at school longer than
I can hear it.
What are we getting? Hold on. What are we getting echo from? From me or from?
I don't know. It might be me. I don't think so though.
Do you have your you don't have my channel still open on YouTube, do you?
No.
Okay.
It is echoey though.
What video is getting that echoey? Oh,
It's that.
That's probably
It's
me.
the Twitter video.
Hold on, probably me. Hold on.
in
How about now?
like 4 or 5 years?
Better.
Okay.
Kirby,
Let me restart.
Oklahoma has out-recruited everyone in the conference except for Georgia and Alabama, or been like right on the level with Texas and LSU. Do you know how many coaches in this conference have won an SEC championship?
No, dude.
One. Kirby.
Do you know how many coaches in this conference have been at their school longer than like 4 or 5 years? Kirby. and Stu. That's it. Everything else is like constant turnover. Why is it constant turnover? Because they haven't done shit. None of them. It's just it's a constant churn. These programs have tried to get out of the shadow of Georgia and Alabama, and they have not been able to do it. Now, there's some of them that are in good position right now this year after coming off the strong season, and we'll see what they got. But like historically, and like not even you don't even have to go back. Like when you say historically, it gives like the feeling that I'm talking like over the last 50 years. I'm talking the last 5 or 4 or 3. None of these schools that are going to be picked ahead of us, except for Alabama and Georgia, have done anything. They've done nothing. None of them. So it's not like, oh, we got to come in and earn our stripes. Against teams that have accomplished jack squat, none of them have. So that's what I find fascinating about this deal. But it goes to show you it's a new conference about like if you don't get it done, it's just retread constantly.
All right.
Okay. So I'm not saying there's not a lie in there, right? There's nothing in there that he said that's not a lie. Yes, there has been some turnover. There's turnover everywhere.
Is a lie,
everywhere you go, there's
nothing he
turnover.
said that there's a lie.
Yeah,
or
correct.
you're saying that there's nothing he said that wasn't a lie.
Correct. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to say the guy. I don't even know who he is, but I'm not saying
Teddy Lehman's one of the best linebackers in Oklahoma history.
Okay. So he has a podcast, a pretty prominent podcast, I guess, right?
Yeah, he's close to the program. He does color commentator for the radio call. He's around.
We got a guy
for Brent Venables.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
It's just like Chris Doring. We have the same practically the same guy.
Every program does. Every program does.
So I'm gonna say this. You can't talk about teams in a conference when you haven't played the schedule yet. I don't feel like that's right. I feel like that
I'm gonna let you go, but I'm gonna write this stuff down because I'm gonna let you go, and then you're gonna let me go.
That's
too.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I don't feel like it's right to say teams haven't done anything and teams are trying to get out of the shadow of Georgia and Alabama. Well, I'm gonna tell you, everybody in college football is trying to get out of the shadow of Georgia and Alabama. That's a fact. Minus Ohio State that recruits 1 or 2 every single year and just, I don't know, can't get it done because of a coaching situation. I don't know exactly what's going on in Ohio State where they can't get it done. But minus Ohio State, everybody is trying to get out of the shadow of what Kirby and Saban had done, especially Kirby now.
He was saying that. I'll just ask you this: do you think that he was saying that Oklahoma isn't?
Yeah, I think he said that the teams in the SEC are trying to get out of the shadow of that, and that Oklahoma
Oklahoma's
and
in the
Texas
SEC
don't.
too. Oklahoma's in the SEC.
They are now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is my second thing. When you say that essentially that these programs haven't done anything, but haven't played the schedule yet, you're going into a harder conference. It's way harder than the Big 12, correct? Well, we can talent wise, there's more talent in the SEC. The SEC puts out more talent to the NFL than pretty much anybody else in the Power Four.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. What that does is these teams that are not very good can legitimately beat you. I'm not talking rival. I'm not talking, Okie light, because it's a rival game. Weird things happen. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, the legitimate fact that these games are gonna be closer because the talent on the field is better on every single team minus Vandy. Every single team has more talent than most of the Big 12 teams. And then what you did, hold on.
Every single team, you're really gonna say that aside from Vandy? Because I wouldn't agree.
Well, who's the big threat in the Big 12? That now that Texas and OU,
Kansas State's loaded. Utah's going to be pretty good. They beat Florida last year.
I'm talking the old Big 12, from last year.
Okay, Kansas State's pretty loaded. Kansas is pretty loaded. There's some teams,
but they don't historically have the talent of.
Of course not. Of course
they don't have the talent of. Okay,
hey man, you're not going to get me to say that the Big 12 is better than the SEC if that's what you're looking for.
No. And then what you did when you brought Oklahoma and Texas into the SEC, which I don't know if that was a great move because it already cannibalizes itself.
Sure.
You brought more talent in. I mean, you brought two teams that recruit 4, 5, 6, 3. Mm-hmm. You made it even harder. And I'm going to tell you, Oklahoma fans are a lot like Florida fans. The louder you are, the worst of a schedule you're going to get. Look at what happened to Florida. And everybody's talking about this year, the Florida schedule's bad. Next year, we have less home games. We got like 7 less home games. That's going to be brutal. So, and I'm going to tell you this.
Well,
for some reason,
teams that you're playing or whatever, because you're just kind of flipping the schedule just like Oklahoma is. Oklahoma's actually gets a little easier next year because it's actually supposedly harder, but you get less of those teams. Right now, you look at Oklahoma, they play LSU, Missouri, Ole Miss on the road.
Yeah.
Right? And Auburn on the road. Now, they'll get all of them at the Palace next year. Right.
Yeah.
But then you got to flip it around, and you're going to go to Alabama and South Carolina and
South Carolina is a team that
tough place to play, right?
They got that rooster going. They got that, but it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde with that team. You don't know if you're gonna get a team that's gonna throw 6 picks or a team that's gonna throw 6 touchdowns. Kind of like Tennessee this year. I think Tennessee's gonna be like that. I'm gonna say this though. This was my one problem about the whole deal is. That last year, Oklahoma had like 5 powder puffs before they played Texas. That's done. That's over with. That's gone. You can kiss that goodbye. That's never going to happen again.
You're talking about last year like that. It's like that every year for OU, but go ahead.
I'm not saying it is like that, but you're not having that anymore. They're going to stack you like the schedule they stacked you now. It's over.
I'm aware.
And so before you kind of shit on these teams that are trying to win the talent acquisition war of beating Georgia. That you guys just threw your name in the hat of doing that now because the expectations for Oklahoma are still up here. It doesn't matter that they're going to the SEC. Oklahoma fans don't care. 10-2, 9-3. I can't hear you.
Oklahoma fans do not care. You're correct. They expect you to win. They don't.
They expect you to win.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you get upset.
That comes with being a blue blood, brother.
Well, I get that.
That
But
comes
if you
with
get an
being
upset,
that comes with 7 national championships and winning 6 conference titles in a row recently. I don't care if it was in the Big 12 or not. Texas didn't sure as shit do it.
no. No, and they had their shot last year and they kind of blew it. But that's besides the point.
Right.
That's my one that was my one thing about it is that
Okay.
he was kind of shitting on these teams that
He wasn't, though.
that
He
run
wasn't.
run a tough schedule. And now we're gonna see. Like I told you yesterday, hey, if I'm wrong, if you guys don't get upset by a Auburn or Kentucky, I'm just telling you it can happen.
Right. Let me get to this super chat real quick.
I'll admit when I'm wrong.
No,
Yeah,
look.
go ahead. You got a bunch of them.
And look, we're gonna admit whenever we're wrong too. But I would tell you, let me get to this and we'll go through. Let me go through what I was gonna say. Iron sharpens iron. If you want to play an easier schedule, go join the Pac 2. Agreed. Or go to USC, I guess. Every one of these teams have had fans or media talk trash about OU, and that's a bunch of crap. Okay, that's a great point. Thank you for the super chat, Stink. We appreciate that very much. So we had one from Coach Ricks a little earlier. I don't know if I really addressed it, so let me get to it real quick. JA can scramble. Definitely better than DG. Absolutely. Thank you for the super chat as well. You guys are awesome. All right. Let me just first talk about that. Let me go back to this super chat. This right here is exactly what, and this is what I was saying a few minutes ago. Teddy wasn't just, first off, Teddy a week ago was trying to tell Oklahoma fans to stop engaging with these people on Twitter, your Brandon Walkers of the world, or your Barrett Sallees of the world that are shitting on Oklahoma. They don't understand Oklahoma's history. He said this. They don't understand Oklahoma's history. They don't know what they're doing in recruiting. They don't believe in Coach Venables, blah, 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 because they're believing in all these stupid-ass narratives. If you remember, I had a video out last week talking about Barrett Sallee and the shit that he was saying. You know what he had the nerve to say? And you being a recruiting guy, you know that this is a complete bunch of bullshit. Geographically speaking, I don't see how you can recruit, or he says geographically speaking in terms of where the best players in the country are, I don't see how Oklahoma can recruit to compete in the SEC year to year. They're never going to.
Oregon. Look at Oregon. Look,
First
geographically speaking.
Geographically speaking, the most fertile recruiting ground in the country is 100 miles from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Texas. They also have a pipeline into
You got
Florida.
Louisiana down there.
Geographically speaking, Barrett Sallee, you're full of shit. So these things are coming out there. He also, on that SEC podcast a few months back, was saying that they're not going to even be as good as Mizzou moving forward. Mizzou's had one double-digit win season in a decade, came off of two seasons where they were 6-6 or 5-7. And all of a sudden they do one thing one year with a crap schedule and everybody's supposed to bow down to Mizzou. And he's saying because of that, you're not going to be, without Lincoln, you're not going to be able to recruit those Heisman type quarterbacks. You've seen the quarterbacks that they've recruited. What do you think?
I think
coming from a guy that's on Sirius Radio. He's been an SEC guy for a long time as a journalist, and he doesn't even do enough, and he's quote unquote respected in the SEC, and he doesn't even do enough research to be able to tell the truth.
Well, I think that's
hating on Oklahoma to hate on them.
False. Yeah, I started looking at Oklahoma's recruiting class last year, what it was going to be in the SEC when they announced it. I think the talent is there. Like you guys have the talent to be in the SEC.
Let me finish. What I'm saying is that he was saying simply this, that what Teddy was doing was telling everybody that he had heard enough of that. Then he ended up hearing more of it. I don't remember who it was from this time, but it was another SEC pundit or whatever, and he was sick of hearing it, and he started looking at some of that stuff, and he's going, what have they all done that Oklahoma's so bad? We don't have to look. I told you this in the text message yesterday. Everybody's acting like it's Oklahoma that has to adjust to the SEC and the rigors of the SEC. Nobody in the SEC they don't have to deal and adjust to Oklahoma, because I think they do. OU is not your average SEC. I'm not telling you that they're just going to come in there and dominate, and that's not what Teddy was saying either. Teddy came in there and was saying, look, you're going to have to adjust to us. You're going to have to deal with one of the best defenses in the country immediately, and you know that. Then they went and added what? What did they do? They go and add we got another one. They go and add Dominic Williams for the D-line. They're deep as hell there too. They've got edge rushers. They're good at every level of the defense. They should be at worst a top 3 defense in the SEC in year one. If they do that, I don't want to. First off, I don't even give a shit about the offensive line. I'm not worried about it. You got Bill Bedenbaugh, who's the best O-line coach in the country. They went and got themselves. They've got more starts on the O-line than any other team in the SEC. They have more starts on the O-line than Ohio State with the guys that they got in the portal. Nobody talks about that. They also have really good guys that are underclassmen that haven't started yet. They're unknown, but that doesn't mean they're bad. Saying that you're replacing 5 starters, technically you are. But Jacob Sexton, as a freshman, was dogging an All-American from Florida State in that bowl game, killing him until he got hurt. And he didn't play much until the end of the year, but then he was starting over a first-rounder, Tyler Guyton, the last 4 games of the season. So he did start a lot of games. And Tyler went and was a first-round draft pick again. Another one for Bill Bedenbaugh. 2nd year in a row. They've got more people there. Yes, Schmitty. Thank you, Jason Southern. You know, we talked about this a lot. What do we say about Lincoln? Him and that freaking yoga instructor, Wiley, they made Oklahoma soft. They ain't soft anymore. They're better at all levels. And what I'm telling you is if your question is about Jackson Arnold, let's say your question is Jackson Arnold right now. He's young. He's a first-year quarterback. Okay, he is. He was National Player of the Year, not Arch Manning. He was National Player of the Year. He went to 2 state championships in Texas 6A, the toughest league in the country, except for maybe the Trinity League. Right? And won Elite 11. You know, he's that dude. I know you can't judge everything off of a spring game. I understand that. They have they have a top 2 or 3 at worst receiving room. Running back room is deep. With Taylor Tatum, he might end up being that guy right off the bat too. So give me. But what I'm going to tell you is all of this stuff just equates to I don't even care about any of that. I'm not worried about Oklahoma on offense. I'll never worry about Oklahoma on offense until they give me a reason to worry about Oklahoma on offense, because they put up offense. This is what they do. Now, if they're top 2 or 3 though on defense this year in the SEC, you can be middling as an offense and be able to win most of those games. Because I don't care that you're going up against some of the best offenses, no doubt. But you still have one of the best defenses. If you're top 2 or 3, that means you're shutting those offenses down for the most part. If you're not going to score more than 30 on OU, you're going to lose more times than not. I'm not saying that they're going to come in and go 12-0. In fact, I've been saying 9-3 for the entire year since January. I could see a path to 10-2. That's about where I leave it. 10-2 probably gets them in the SEC championship game, depending on whatever happens with the rest of them, because they're going to be playing against these other quote unquote contenders. They will have if they go 10-2, that means that they will have beaten some combination of Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, and LSU.
I don't know if Alabama's going to take a step back like what everybody.
I don't know that they are either.
Thinking.
But you get them at home.
I don't think that. You do get them at home. Tennessee, like I said with Nico, me and Shelton talked about this the other day. He's going to be the 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions guy the first year in the SEC. I wholeheartedly believe that.
What did you say?
You just don't know what you're. That's the worst.
What did you say?
Nico is going to be I'm just looking through the schedule. Nico's going to be a 5 interception.
His first SEC start is against a Brent Venables defense that's going to show him things that he hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, so it could go 5 interceptions, or it could go 5 touchdowns with that high-powered offense.
They're not going to get 5 touchdowns.
I'm just saying, like that's the scare. Those games are scarier
I like Nico, but he's going to get some exotic blitzes that they will not have shown in those first 3 games. I assure you.
I get
They're
that.
They're going to make things hard on him.
I'm going to say this. Those games scare me more when you have a super talented quarterback that you don't know what you're getting. I rather play a team that a Kentucky that you know what you're going to get. They're going to be physical. They're going to run the ball. The defense is going to be solid.
Too. And I'm going to tell you the other thing is that actually, Heupel and Venables have coached together. He knows.
That's what I'm saying.
Josh Heupel. He knows what he's going to get from Josh Heupel. There's not going to be anything that's going to surprise him about Josh Heupel.
But you have the other care of Heupel knows what Venables going to do.
Does he?
To an extent.
To an extent,
he's a top 10 play caller, I would say.
I agree. You're not going to get me to badmouth Josh Heupel. I've just saying. A while now, I've actually said for a while now that I'm more worried about Tennessee and Alabama at home than I'm worried about Ole Miss and Missouri on the road. That's just a fact. Because what we see out of Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin is they don't really win those games that they're either not expected to win or easily win, or it's a close game. They've done it once pretty much since he got there, and it was against LSU last year. And honestly, LSU dropped a touchdown pass. Otherwise, they probably don't lose that game. Jackson Dart has not been Mr. All Everything when it gets to nut cutting time. Again, I'm not bad-mouthing anybody. I'm just saying that Oklahoma has just as much chance of winning some of these games, and in some cases more than these other schools do. And the unknown about OU for most of these programs, you don't know them either. But defense is that what does it always come down to? Always it's going to come down to defenses. All the time.
For sure. This is the bad.
That's why I said Oklahoma doesn't have to be a top 5 offense in there. They could be a top 10, 20 offense in the country. If they're a top 5 defense, they're going to be right there in the thick of it. They may lose 2 or 3 games. I've said 9-3. I could see them getting to 10-2, but they're not losing 4 or 5 or 6 like a lot of people are saying. And a lot of people are saying that, Cody.
I get that. This is my only concern. Is your two back games are the 2 games you could have,
no doubt,
in the SEC. You have LSU that is always hot. They're always running for a playoff appearance because they get hot at the end. If you really want to play LSU the first game, you can beat them. They're beatable for some reason. I don't know why, but they are. But you could the problem is you could have a 2-game skid, Alabama and LSU. And when you have 2 fresh losses like that, it does not look good on the playoff aspect.
What? Say that again. Say that last part again.
If you lose, say you go 10-2, but you lose to Alabama, LSU the last 2 weeks of the season, it does not look good. It does not look good because you had a 2-game skid at the end of the season as opposed to your losses being broken up.
Yeah, but we're talking about Alabama, who has the number 1 talent roster in the country.
Yeah.
and a coach that's lost 12 games in the entirety of his head coaching career.
Correct.
Period. Anywhere. And then on the road at one of the top 2 or 3 toughest venues in the country to play at nighttime.
Correct.
So you go 10-2, and you think that, what do you mean that doesn't look good? They're going to be in the playoff at 10-2. It doesn't give a shit. I don't give a shit what it looks like.
It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for the outside people. It doesn't look good.
10-2
2-game skid.
Your first year in the SEC.
Listen, if you lose,
you better make that make sense.
I'm saying for the SEC talking pundits, it doesn't look good to have a two game skid at the end of the season. It looks bad. It does,
brother. That means that you've already beaten.
Everybody says you want a loss. You want a loss at the beginning of the season. Everybody says it.
I would tell you no. And Shawty says no. He played at Georgia. I would tell you that I'd rather, if you're 10-0, you almost have to expect that you got an L coming somewhere, and you don't want it to be in the playoff. I'd rather get it before you get to the play. You know you're getting to the playoff at 10-2 with this schedule. No two ways around it. You might even still be playing for the conference championship at 10-2. In fact,
I just don't know how many SEC teams are going to put in. This is going to be the problem. And
at least 4. It'll be at least 4.
This is why I really wasn't really hyped about Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC, because it's going to create a problem. Because if Florida goes 8-3, you can't leave them out with that schedule.
9-3, you mean 9-3?
Yeah, 9-3. You can't leave them out.
Strength of schedule. This is the look. Strength of schedule. Oklahoma is number 2. Florida's number 1.
All I'm saying is I wish they would have broken
9-3. They're going to build Billy a statue.
Yeah, they probably will. And Lagway actually shows out and is something. Yeah, it's going to be incredible. This is what I'm saying. I just wish those two, they did you no favors there, and I wish they would have broke that up. Alabama and LSU. After listen, you got to go to Columbia, and it's fucking that place sucks.
Hey, look,
it's a terrible venue. It's going to be night. It's going to be cold.
Nobody here cares about Missouri. Nobody. They've played them up until the last decade. They've played them for 100 years. Nobody gives a shit.
I hate
They're
that
going to go
venue.
beat and they've earned their ass whipping. The stuff that they pulled in the recruiting, the tampering stuff with Green, all the trash that freaking drink talks, and damn sure all the trash that a lot of those fans talk. I've actually got a couple of pretty cool ones that watch my show a lot. But aside from those guys, I don't know a Mizzou fan that I like.
Keaton, no, it's not because it makes Florida worse. Florida has a very, very fertile recruiting ground. They're fine. I'm not worried about that.
We're not trash about Florida, but look,
what it does though is people are going to complain. People are going to complain because it's the SEC got 5. Can you believe that? They got 5 playoff spots.
You know what?
Yeah, you don't care, and I don't care.
No,
but the Big Ten cares.
The Big Ten, well, they're going to at least get 4, and the Big Ten's not going to care if they don't have 4 teams that are as good as the SEC. All they care about is that they get, I think it's somewhere between 7 and 8 teams in, and maybe even up to 7 or 8 teams in. If they get 7 or 8 teams in between those two conferences, they're in it together. Believe me, the Big 12 and ACC will care. The SEC don't give a shit, and they're in charge of the thing. So that none of this matter. The bottom line is just to tell you what I was going to try. I was going to try to finish this out. Period. Point blank. The only thing that Teddy was saying was that stop giving us this crap that Oklahoma, it's impossible for them to come in and win.
Oh, I don't think that.
Oklahoma's expectations, no matter what, you said it yourself, are always going to be to win every game. You're not going to win every game. We know that. But going into every game, you expect to compete and to have a shot to win them all. If you don't, then you're not very good, and you can't afford to be that for very long. OU came in after a dumpster fire was left for Venables to clean up. He goes 10-2 in year 2 in the regular season. Levy leaves. Yeah, whatever. We don't have to talk about that. We can talk about the bowl game or not. It doesn't really matter. In the end, they've got all this coming back on the defensive side. There's very few questions on that. In fact, whatever questions you might have, there's a lot of depth. On the offensive side, yeah, you can say whatever you want. But again, when's the last time you knew of an Oklahoma team that their offense wasn't one of the best in the country? Because it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And they've got tools everywhere for them to be very good there too. I don't think they have to be. Jackson doesn't have to go out there and win the Heisman or be a Heisman finalist if that defense is as good as we think it's going to be. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be.
I mean, Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships, and he wasn't very good. On the back of elite Georgia defenses.
Well, listen,
I guess I haven't heard anybody saying that OU's not gonna win games in the SEC.
Again,
I don't. Okay, so I don't listen to Fine Ball. The only outside media that I listen to is Josh Pate every now and then.
And he's actually been one of the few guys that actually doesn't talk shit about Oklahoma all the time, but he leaves them out of a lot of conversations.
Hey, listen,
when you start talking about contenders. That's fine.
You're coming from a Florida fan, I get it. How many graphics do we see Hayes Fawcett over Florida?
Huh.
And we never even talked to the kid. It's because you get to poke the rowdy fan base that are going to get you clicks.
Sure, no doubt.
Just like there was a SEC pundit that said Florida's going to be lucky to win 3 games this year. Like, what? With the talent that we have? Are you kidding me? 3 games? And to somebody, I seen somebody put in the chat that Billy Napier's getting fired after Florida or after Georgia. Look, DJ Lagway is attached to Billy Napier. They do not want to lose him.
I've been saying that every week, brother. I've been saying that every time Florida comes up and they start talking about Billy being gone before the season's over. Unless they're getting blown out for the first 6 weeks, that ain't happening. If they're in any games, they're not going to do that because they don't want DJ to leave, and he will.
I think if you get blown out in the first 4 games, they're just going to stick Lagway in to let him get experience.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. And why would?
And people, this is the one irritating thing about just a second. This is the one irritating thing to me. Billy Napier took a kid from Wisconsin and Graham Mertz that nobody wanted, and turned him into a top 5 SEC quarterback last year. Nobody wanted the kid.
Oh, dude, I like Graham Mertz.
Nobody wanted him.
Yeah.
Florida fans were pissed. I wasn't even happy. I was like,
"You guys."
I don't know if this kid's
at least 3 games that I can remember that you should have won, and it was really
3 points or less.
It was really because Billy didn't call very good games.
Yeah, but that happens. That's
didn't have anything to do with
being a play caller.
Yeah,
no,
I agree. The games that Oklahoma lost last year were because of the offensive play calling in the regular season. There's no 2 ways around it.
But that's a part of the job.
I get it. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't say, I was saying it wasn't about Graham Mertz is what I was saying. If anything, it was about Billy, and the game I thought he called an awful game at Utah. Awful game. How are you not running the ball more against that team? Crazy stuff.
Yeah, how are you not using ETN more?
Right.
And then he leaves.
Yeah.
I get that.
But look,
it's just
and Shotty's. You see what happens here, dude. Stetson was a dude. He was a walk-on, is what you're talking about. He's not a 5-star guy, but he was a winner. Hell, Kirby didn't want to play him though. Shotty, you know that shit. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, definitely didn't translate at the next level either.
No, well, That doesn't have anything to do with it. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are really good in college that don't do shit in the league.
Yep,
that happens. Yeah. Talking about.
I guess was he reacting? Was he reacting to what somebody said? Is that what that? See, I took it, and that's the problem when you clip stuff up.
Exactly, and that's believe it, and even they probably did it mostly for clicks too. But here's the thing: the week before, Teddy was trying to tell Oklahoma fans to stop engaging with these clowns. That they don't understand. They don't understand the history. They don't understand what they are, what this team looks like. Look, people are talking about Texas is going to go 11-1, 12-0, and they just lost 11 guys to the draft. Make it make sense. Not only did they lose 11 guys to the draft, they lost their number one position coach guy on the defensive side, Bo Davis, to LSU, and they're not great in that area on the trenches, and everybody just acts like that's not a thing.
Well, and they lost their two best trench guys, and Sweat and
Murphy, both of them.
Murphy.
Sweat Murphy. Yeah.
You don't replace that either. That's like once every 10 years you get guys like that.
Again, he also lost his top 5 pass catchers, probably the best freaking running back in the country. Now, Brooks wasn't playing at the end of the year anyway, but he was a bad dude. I like their running back room. In fact, and I like the guys they added in the portal, but that doesn't mean that they automatically mesh either. There's got to be so many things that go perfectly right for Texas to be what they were last year. Oh, and guess what? Oklahoma beat their ass last year when they were the best team they've had in 15 years. OU beat them, but OU's the team that's going to come in and be not good enough to deal with the SEC. You poke at a fan base like this long enough, they're going to stop being nice about it. And even guys like Teddy Lehman, who know better, he's going to get. All he was saying is, the gist of what he was saying is, we're not saying we're coming in to dominate. We're saying we're going to come in and we're going to make it hard on your ass too. And if you think that Oklahoma's coming to the SEC to be middle of the pack, you don't know shit about Oklahoma. They recruited in the top 10 each cycle. They're in line to be top 5 or top 10 again this cycle. They're doing everything they need to do. They're recruiting right. They identify talent. In fact, I would say their classes are undervalued in a lot of places. You don't ever really know that until 3 or 4 years down the line anyway. It doesn't even matter. But you said yourself, who had the best defensive line haul in the country last year?
Oh,
it wasn't close.
Yeah.
Brent Venables, I just talked to the CFB professor, Adam McClintock. He said that as a head coach, you still got, you got to give Brent Venables time to, we got to see exactly what he is. I understand that. But he also said that as a defensive coordinator, he was their number 1 ranked guy, period. So
yeah, I guess I haven't heard, and because I probably don't listen to SEC pundit talk. I said, I just don't. I don't have time for it. I don't have time for guys that It seems like they do zero research and then just want to talk. It's like it's kind of like saying that like OU didn't have a great class last year on the defensive line would be, like, what are you talking about? Or Auburn didn't bring in a elite four pack of wide receivers. Those guys are going to be spectacular as freshmen. And everybody keeps saying, "Oh, I don't know about Auburn."
Well, the one thing, but they still don't have a quarterback.
The one thing I don't understand that. I don't know why you don't go get a transfer quarterback, but I will say, Hugh Freeze is calling plays again. He's calling plays, and he can dial it up. Mm-hmm. I think he's grimy like Petrino.
I'm not bad-mouthing Auburn. I think they're probably a year away though. They need to get a quarterback.
Yeah, they need one bad, but they have a mid-pack defense.
Look, That's one of the games I've circled that said, hey, you might lose that one. Even though I don't think Auburn's that good, you could lose that one.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play,
another
too.
scary game for me? Even though it's at home, I think it's in a spot that you could overlook, and you better not. South Carolina with that quarterback, he's a problem if you let him get out on you.
Yeah,
He's
but
a
that's
stud,
the
straight up. And
that's the thing.
I don't believe in Beamer that much, but again, it's a trap game situation. You're coming off of Texas. You're waiting on the next game is Ole Miss. It's between Texas and Ole Miss.
That's the thing too, is like we have talked about, like I said earlier, South Carolina is a team you hate because it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Of course. Listen,
you don't know what you're getting. I hate those games. Throw those games away.
Teddy was saying, and I'm just going to say this, and we can finish this conversation up a little bit. Teddy was saying that, look, are there questions that you have? Sure. But this idea that Oklahoma is coming in as the redheaded stepchild to Texas is insanity. And people get sick as shit of hearing it. And this is a guy that, I mean, look, love Jake Crane, and I'm going to talk to him next week when he's at media days. I may be up there anyways. I don't have passes, but look, even he said, look, he was saying a lot of that same stuff and said that Teddy shouldn't be saying that. And if they're saying that around Norman, they're going to go 5-7, or around the, Switzer Center, they're going to go 5-7 if that's what they believe, that all these teams aren't shit. He took it out of the wrong context. I think everybody did. You saw SEC Mike, same thing, got pissy about it. Why would you say that? There's been 5 SEC champions since they last won a national. Dude, that's not, he was talking about in the last 4 or 5 years, which I give you credit. At least you realize that that's what he was saying. They're no more stable than Oklahoma is. And that's the other thing that nobody likes, is that you don't think OU knows that this is going to be an adjustment, that it's not going to be the same as the Big 12. Yeah, they get it. Guess what? Brent Venables' defenses beat one of the best SEC programs, the best SEC program, period, twice for national championships. He knows what they're getting into. They know. Todd Bates, the defensive line coach, played at Alabama. You think they don't know what the hell they're getting into? They do. Nobody thinks that they're coming in to dominate, but don't think for a second that they're not coming to win, because they are. They are coming to win. What happens this year, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not predicting national championship. I've said it. I've told you this. 2025 is the target year that they should play for all of it.
Yeah.
No matter what. But there are some things that have happened this year that you could see them being in the playoff and taking a shot at it. I think no matter what happens this year, they're going to be better next year.
Yeah, I think if Georgia has any players left not getting in trouble, I think Georgia's the crowning jewel of a national championship. They got Carson Beck. They have the deepest running back room in the nation. Everybody says Ohio State. Nope. Georgia is back. Georgia is back to running back you. I'm so tired of people saying, "Oh, well, they got Judkins and the other kid." Well, okay.
Ohio State should not lose a game in the regular season.
You've got 2. Georgia's got 5 dudes that are like that. They got freshmen that Trevor Etienne best be looking over his shoulder and learn how to pass block, because they got a couple freshmen that are primed and ready. And if there's a position in the SEC that you can go in as a freshman, because we've seen it year after year, and go dominate, it's Florida. Or not Florida. It's running back. We saw it at Florida with ETN. We see it every year. There's always a freshman that pops.
Right. Look, again, you're not saying nothing I haven't said. I think Georgia's the best team in the country. I think Ohio State should be right there with them. I don't trust Ryan Day.
I think Day is done after this year.
Well, that means he lost to Michigan or he didn't live up to expectations. If you lose to Michigan a fourth time,
the
probably gone unless he wins the Natty.
The Big Ten just got tougher too with Oregon going in there. Everybody's saying everybody's not hyped on Oregon. Listen, they got some killers. They got some dudes.
I'm not hyped on Oregon. Dan Lanning has to win something before we give him that too. The dude's 0-3.
I get it, but
the dude's
who do they? But the Big Ten's not that tough.
I would agree. No, I think they're going to be in the playoff. I just don't think they're going to win it.
But they could beat Ohio State.
I know Dylan Gabriel, you know this.
They have the talent. They have the talent to go shot for shot with Ohio State, and that's all that matters.
Oh well, yeah, and they actually get Ohio State at home. If Ohio State's going to lose a regular season game, that better be the only one they lose.
And then they probably lose to Michigan again.
I don't know that they're going to lose to Michigan again, but they better not.
That's the nail in the coffin, isn't it?
Yeah, unless he wins the Natty. But if they lose 2 games, they'll get in the playoff either way. But he better win the Natty if they lose to
and
Michigan.
Then who they play?
Yeah.
Who they play? So let's say they lose. Let's say they lose those 2 games, right?
Oh. Okay.
Who would they play?
That would put them probably around the 8 or 9 seed.
So they're going to play like a SEC team then, right?
Yeah.
They'd play like a Florida or OU or LSU.
On the road.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. In their house. Yeah, listen, but don't forget that Ohio State has a lot of talent.
You know what's funny? I keep seeing.
Now, I'm not a Will Howard guy, but he doesn't have to be that good when you've got those 2 running backs. And Chip Kelly will spread those guys out and run through big holes with them.
I think
it's to be that great.
I think it's funny that that people keep saying that Oregon has like a big checkbook and everything, and they're buying players. Number one, everybody's buying players right now. That's part of the game. It's pay for play. Number 2, it's funny that the loudest fan bases are like Texas A&M pissed about it.
Shit.
Because you're not getting the 5 stars this year. Is that it?
Texas, I don't know. Look, here's the thing. You guys have got to stop. If you're any Texas fan that comes in here and tells me about Phil Knight's money is going to get hell from me. No Texas fan gets to use NIL and money as a reason to not be recruiting the way they're not recruiting. I don't want to hear that shit from you. You will never get that from me. Oregon has money, and Nike's a lot of money. It ain't oil money. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. All right.
Yeah, it's funny
looking at Ohio State. Penn State too. Yeah, Penn State.
Penn State's overrated all the time.
But they got Andy Kolznicki. If they can get that offense going through them, and Drew Aller is what he might be, they could be. But until they beat Michigan or Ohio State, I don't really want to hear shit about Penn State either. So, but Ohio State doesn't have any reason to lose any. There's one game on their 2 games that they're not favored by more than 10 points. 2 games on the schedule.
They would play in the playoffs. They would play like OU, LSU, Tennessee maybe if they have a good year.
Yeah, I mean we can look at that. I had that up from the other day. Let's see.
I just wonder who they're gonna play.
Yeah, I mean they would. So you know that it goes to where you have the. All right, if figuring UGA wins the SEC, I've got them at 1. Ohio State being at 2 if they were to win the Big Ten. But then you've got the Big 12 and ACC champions are going to be the 3 and 4, no matter what their record is, because they won those conferences. So they're going to get buys.
Yeah.
So automatically they're going to be in the quarters. But let's just say, okay, let's say they went to number 7. That means that at number 7, they would play the number 2 team more than likely in the
That's if they're a number 1 seed,
in the
right?
quarterfinal round. If they're the 2 seed, if they were the 2 seed, they'd play the 7.
Oh,
If they're
the
the
2
number
seed.
1, they're going to play the 8. But the 8 seed is going to be like a Oregon or the runner up in the SEC. It's going to be.
Yeah.
Whoever the runner ups
Yeah,
are, it's probably going to be the 7 and 8. Because if you got to figure Notre Dame, if they go 11-1, which they should, Notre Dame's schedule is, 10-2 at worst, I think, for Notre Dame, 11-1.
Yeah.
So and the 5 seed being what it is because of Notre Dame. They set that up for themselves.
Yeah.
That puts them in a prime position. They'll get a home game in the opening round against probably that group of 5 school that is guaranteed a spot for whatever damn reason. But so that's basically a bye for them. And then they would play after that. Then of course the semifinal, more than likely they're going to be playing the number 1 seed, but it wouldn't be until the semifinals. The number 2 seed, you're almost for sure going to get a SEC team in the quarters. Almost positive. Because even if you were the number 6, okay, so even if you were, say, the 6, you've got the 3, which is going to be ACC/Big 12. They're going to be waiting on the 6 or 11. The 11 seed could be a tough. You don't know who that's going to be really because of that G5 thing. It could throw it off, but you get it could be an SEC number 4, SEC number 3, the 11 seed.
Yeah.
Same with the 12 is going to go to the G5 school almost for sure. But then the 10 seed is going to be the number 3 out of the Big 10 or like the SEC's number 4, something like that, or number 3.
G5 would be
G5 would be like Liberty, Memphis, somebody like that probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Liberty, Memphis, those teams.
Yeah, well, Liberty would have been that team last year, and they didn't lose anybody really. So yeah, K-State, I think that's where
it's going to be interesting to see where
whoever the champion is out of the Big 12 and the ACC, they're going to make it tough on the 5 seed and the 6 seed, whoever that is. So that 5 seed, it could either be, I could see that also being somebody like Alabama. They don't make it into the conference championship, or they lose the conference championship game, or so whoever loses it. If it's Bama or OU, I ain't saying Texas because I don't see it. They're going 8-4. Watch. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and they don't have the strength of schedule like these other
They're going to go
teams
8-4. It's not going to matter that they don't have strength of schedule. They're going to go 8-4. Because they got back-to-back games against Oklahoma and Georgia in the middle of their season. They got to start with now Michigan. It's in the big house. I don't know what Michigan lost 13 guys to the draft, but they lost 11. So I don't think it's as easy.
This is the thing about
everybody acts like it is.
Michigan brand of ball is easier to replace.
Yes, and they're physical as shit. And so if their middle of their defensive line, as I've been saying, is soft, they're going to get ran the hell over in that game.
Yeah.
So, or at the worst, they're going to ugly the shit up and make it tough on them. We still haven't seen Quinn Ewers make it through a full season yet. He hasn't.
No.
Do you believe in Arch Manning? I think people do. I don't know what to think of him.
I don't know.
We've seen him look good against backup guys and third stringers in the spring game, but that's it.
Yeah, but this is the thing is with the schedule change, and Texas is eventually going to get a tough schedule. I would assume. You don't have
the first 2 years, it's fairly tough. They're going to play Georgia, they're going to play Oklahoma, both years, and then they're going to get A&M. And I would tell you that A&M is that team that I'm like, now they got a grown up there, and they're going to play defense, and they get Texas at home. Not to mention, you got to deal with Arkansas and Bobby Petrino and a good quarterback. I don't think that Arkansas is going to be great, but they get them at home.
And a guy coaching for his life.
Absolutely. Florida, by the time you play Florida, Lagway may be the starter. That could put them in jeopardy.
Hope not.
I'm telling you that they're going to lose.
Mertz is having up.
I agree.
I think it's going to be packages. I think it's going to be packages for Lagway. Yeah.
I think either way, I was saying Kentucky, Florida, Arkansas, one of those teams is going to beat Texas.
Or two.
And, well, I think that
Kentucky can beat you on any given Saturday.
Yeah, listen, we got to find out what that quarterback's about too.
It doesn't seem like it matters.
Yeah.
They had a terrible quarterback last year and still beat people they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
They just muddy it up, just like Michigan. They just play. The defense is always going to be sound. Okay, you're not gonna light it up on their defense. It's usually going to be sound, and they're just going to run it. They're just going to run the ball.
Right.
And then again, you look up with the new clock rules.
You don't know what's going to happen with Ewers. So if he doesn't make it through a full season, which he didn't do it in the Big 12, he's done 9 or 10 games has been his most that he's played in the 2 years he's been there. I know that they love them, their guys behind them, and not even just Arch. Their other guy, their freshman kid, looks really good too. And I would tell you that Sark is probably going to put an offense out there that's pretty good no matter what. I don't think that that's going to be their problem. I think defensively they're going to be in trouble. I would tell you that offensively they don't have an AD Mitchell. They've got a couple of speed guys, but they don't have a 6'4" dude that can go up and get those jump balls and catch those ones that you got to get in the clutch moments.
Yeah.
And they didn't do very well with him last year doing that. There was times that AD was pissed that they weren't giving him the ball in those situations.
Yeah, they had some problems in the back half of that defense too. It wasn't.
Their secondary.
It wasn't elite.
It was trash. Is what their secondary was. And I don't know that it
looked like a regular.
They got Makuba from Clemson. They've got
that's one player.
And then they got the kid from Washington also. Again,
and then they got a bunch of young guys.
Yeah, listen. Here's the thing: if you're trying to get better in the secondary and you don't have a bunch of push on that defensive line, you're not getting pressure on people.
Doesn't matter.
It's hard, right?
Yep. That was the biggest knock on Florida last year was the defense. It's like we just couldn't get with the four, the front four. We couldn't get there, and then we're trying to draw up blitzes and it just doesn't work. You just
smart move by Billy to bring in that other guy.
Oh, Chapman?
Yeah.
Chapman's a dog.
Well, I'm saying the coach, the other guy to kind of be the defensive coordinator.
Ron Roberts.
Ron Roberts, yeah.
Yeah,
because, I like the DC, but he didn't. He was. I think he's
everybody.
Got something to do.
Everybody makes fun of that, but these older coaches don't want to recruit.
I think it's.
Smart. You have a young guy. You have a young guy that you're tooling up, and he can go into the living rooms. He can be energetic. He can be relatable to these kids. And then you have the old guy just sitting there grinding film and dialing it up.
Look at Ryman Lemons. Have good push up front.
That's true.
I love it.
Yeah, and we got a better defensive back coach. We fired Raymond. He's back at LSU, and the LSU fans. Did you see that thing posted?
What?
With Corey Raymond on it? LSU fans are already they posted like a washed. It had like him in a picture, and it was all gray, and it was washed. Listen, I was never a Raymond fan. He wrote off the talent of LSU defensive backs. That's all he did. LSU's known for putting in good wide receivers and defensive backs. And he was just lazy. And you cannot be lazy in this league at recruiting.
Yeah. Look, here's the one thing I know about Texas Sooner Bo and know about Sark. He's had double-digit wins once in 10 years. He lost the better part of his team to the draft. And he lost some other guys to the portal. They did well in the portal. Everybody keeps telling us how you can't win just with portal. They're saying that Michigan, with all the guys they lost, aren't going to do anything, yet 2 guys fewer they lost there at Texas, and it's just plug and play. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. Do I think they're good on offense? Sure. Do I think they're better than Oklahoma on offense? Not necessarily. No. I don't think so. And yours, hey, he turned the ball over against Oklahoma multiple times last year. I don't think it's as close as you think it is. I don't.
I think their only saving grace is if Ewers somehow stays healthy and they have a tremendous run game. That's it.
Well, they do. They definitely have a good running back. Right?
Which they can do. They over
Baxter every year. They add freaking running backs every year.
But you got to feed them. You got to feed them.
Sure.
That's a good way to slow the game down.
Again,
but I don't think Sark wants to be that.
There's two games I really don't worry about. That's one of them. Texas doesn't beat OU. Texas just doesn't beat OU.
I just don't think Sark wants to be that brand of ball. It's not flashy enough.
Running it all?
Just Michigan style, just running it. You got three. Actually, they got three good backs. You just pound it.
Yeah. Look, in the end, I think that and you're right, fight on. You have to get. It depends on what you're getting. I think that if you're intentional with what you're looking for, you can find guys everywhere. Because right now, that's with the way the portal is. Some guys, there's high school guys that didn't end up in the right places, and they got to kind of go prove it at these lower levels. So there's guys everywhere.
Yeah.
But the truth is,
I do love the portal for that.
Yeah, look, and that's what it's supposed to be for. You need to do the bulk of your damage, and just like in the NFL, you've got to draft well and pick the right dudes. Supplement. That's it. That's why another thing I don't know about Ole Miss. Look, can Golding put that defense together and have them be good enough for them to make a real run at it? I don't know. I know that they're going to be good at Ole Miss on offense. Of course they are. It's freaking Lane. They're going to be fine there. But that hasn't equated to wins there. That hasn't equated to a championship or beating Georgia or Alabama, or they finally beat LSU last year. LSU had the worst defense in the history of their program, and they barely beat them. So, Walter Nolan, okay, great. But what else? What else you got for me?
I just think with Ole Miss
holding out of town, so I don't, you know what I mean.
Well, the thing is too with Ole Miss, they're gonna have to use the transfer portal more because the talent that they acquire out of the state of Mississippi. Listen, if all the best talent in the state of Mississippi went to Ole Miss only, right, all of it, all the best, it's still not very good. Right. It's just a poor state. They're the poorest state in the union. There's just not a talent-rich area like Louisiana, like Texas, like Florida.
Well, no, then they're just not going to get. Look, neither of the programs in that area. There's a couple of teams in the SEC that are always going to do very well in high school recruiting. Florida being one of them. You can do pretty well at Tennessee. You can do really well, obviously, at Georgia and Alabama and LSU for that matter.
Yeah.
Oklahoma,
well, LSU's getting all the cream of the crop.
All this talk about Mizzou and everything that they're supposed to be, they're not there talent-wise. They've got a great receiver. They've got some guys that are decent on the defense, but they lost a lot of guys out of that too. Their running back was the reason they were as good as they were, and you guys lost to them on another 50-yard kick last year, didn't you? Didn't y'all lose to Mizzou on like a?
Oh yeah, Mizzou. Yes, it was like a 54-yarder.
Yeah, they beat Kansas State on a 60-plus yarder. Otherwise, we're not talking about Mizzou like they conquered the world, and they didn't exactly play the toughest schedule in the world either.
I think they're going to take a step back this year. Mizzou is.
Oh. What's up there, Benji? Welcome into the show. Horns down.
The brand has finally returned. F*** your brand.
Still went 4-2 against ranked teams. Which ranked? Oh, Tennessee. with a quarterback that Shawty says knocks the glasses out of the hands of people in the stands? Okay. I don't know. I'm sure you got one. If you were on there, though. Yeah, the thicker kicker.
Yeah, the thicker kicker did have a leg. That dude had a cannon.
But again, I mean, Neely will also tell you, Kansas State should have put that damn game away long before it got down to that. Yep, that's right. This is exactly right. Big difference in the SEC and other conferences that everybody can get skill players, but we have the best O-lines and D-lines in the country. Correct. This is where Oklahoma has the advantages on the D-line. And I would tell you, you can say what you want about Texas's offensive line, and I think that Banks is that dude. Don't get it twisted. I think they're very good on the offensive line, but I know they couldn't get a yard on 4 tries in the Red River game. Oklahoma is the team that's going to be the more physical team. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, I always mark those games as a 50-50 anyway because they're just
you never know.
rival.
Listen, 7-3 in the last 10, 17-7 in the last 24. Oklahoma owns Texas. It just is what it is.
Hey, trust me, I know. We owned Kentucky for 56 years, and now we can't beat them the last 4 for some reason.
Yeah,
56 years in a row we beat Kentucky.
They are good. They are good, but they also look. They're another team that lost to LSU, and LSU had and this was in Columbia, and LSU had its worst defense in history.
Oh yeah, that thing was terrible. It's got to be better this year, right?
Mizzou is terrible. I'm telling you, they're not that team that's going to go and win this conference or make a real run in the playoff. There's no way.
Do you think that you think Brian Kelly could get fired?
9-3 fight on. 9-3 is their record. I can see a path to 10-2, but I got them going 9-3. They're going to go 9-3.
Do you think if they don't resurrect that LSU defense, you think Kelly could be gone?
Oh yeah. You think they wait around for very long? I don't.
No, LSU doesn't.
They're not recruiting very well there. and he's making excuses like we don't buy fucking players.
They all buy players.
We don't buy women. We buy women's basketball players, but not football players.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
See, that's what you think they're going to put up with that shit for very long in Baton Rouge? I don't.
Everybody's buying players.
Now, he does have a large contract.
That don't matter.
I don't think it does either. I mean,
the LSU alums, they don't give a shit about that. I'm telling you that if he don't get a defense, though, it's going to be a problem because LSU has always had a good defensive
You don't think
backs.
They're shut out of the CFP? They do have a favorable schedule, but there's also they're not going to beat A&M. They're not going to go to A&M and win. They're not beating Oklahoma, and they're not beating Alabama. 9-3 with their schedule, they don't get in.
It's not the same.
With losses to who? It could be LSU, it could be Alabama. I'm kind of hedging between. I mean, I wouldn't like it if they lost to Tennessee because of it being at home, but I've said a bunch of times that I'm more worried about that game than I am about Missouri, but I could see maybe losing an Auburn game on the road because it's just a tough place to play. Although I still don't believe in Peyton Thorne. I don't know, man. We'll see. I mean, but I think 9-3 is.
He did play better at home.
Whatever. They also lost to New Mexico State at home. So don't tell me that much.
Yeah. I just don't believe.
And they
him.
didn't just barely.
Well, if they had a halfway decent quarterback, they could be a good team.
Yeah, he's playing for Vandy now. Pavia. Diego Pavia. He's a stud. Yeah. Yeah, he's a star-crossed. Yeah, don't do that here. Look, yeah, K-State's good. I seriously, I think that I don't see Mizzou getting to the playoff. But because I think that even though they have a favorable schedule overall, there's some games that they're not going to win. I don't see that. Look, man, they earned their ass whipping from Oklahoma. They talk too much down there, and that includes drink. So you better back it up. And they don't have the reason their offense, as much as I like Luther Burden, and I'm a Theo Weiss fan, as much as I like those guys, that's not why they were as good as they were on offense last year. 1,600 yards out of Schrader is why.
Yeah, which is gone.
That dude was a dog, and he's not there.
He's gone.
Now, are they going to be good running the ball? Probably. Yeah, I would imagine. But you think you're going to repeat getting that much? 1,600 yards is the real deal.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some teams that really level off now that the COVID thing is done, the COVID year is done. That brought in a lot of extra years to make a lot of teams probably better than what they should.
I'd like OU to stomp on Bama, but I'm not that dude that's going to predict the downfall of Alabama. Now, they are at home. I think if you're going to get Alabama, this is the best time to get them right now.
I'm wondering if it's what it's going to look like.
I don't know. I really like Jalen Milroe as an athlete. I don't know what I think of him as a passer. He wasn't great. I think he needs to hit 65% completions for them to be really good. But I still think they're a playoff team before Mizzou is.
How good Alabama's going to be?
I think they're probably 9-3, 10-2.
Do you think if though?
Huh?
You think it's going to look different? You think it's going to look like the old Alabama brand of ball?
No.
You know what I mean?
It's not Alabama brand of ball. It's Kalen DeBoer. They're gonna be an offensive, but the Womack dude, look, Kane Womack has been pretty good as a defensive coordinator around, and that's who he got.
Washington slung it all around the.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
Washington slung it all around the field.
The thing I know is this: Kalen DeBoer, winner. I don't know what I think about the schemes and all that stuff. The dude wins games everywhere.
Yeah,
he wins games. He took over a 4-8 team and went 25-3 with them in 2 years. Played for a natty. Something tells me they're going to be okay in Tuscaloosa. And again, they still have a great talent roster, man. They still do. So
yeah,
again,
I just don't. I
think you have an opportunity.
It's going to be interesting.
I think you have an opportunity there. Hey, look at that! Thanks for becoming a member there, Benji. Welcome in. Anybody else would like to become a member? Jump in. It's as low as $2.99 a month, and you can get into our Discord, get some of our, I actually have some stuff that I'm ready to put out. I've just got to finish some of it. Some members only content as well. But listen, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff coming up. Is that the first Longhorn member? I think it might be. You trying to be a spy? It might be, man. ESPN is going to push the narrative when it comes to Bama. Unfortunately, well, I don't know I don't know how you can call it a narrative, man. They won 6 national championships in the last 17 years.
Well, you talk about a tough fan base, though. If they don't win, oh my goodness.
Oh, no doubt.
That's a pressure cooker waiting to happen.
The question was this: what are they going to do in recruiting? They're top 3 in recruiting.
Yeah.
He flipped out immediately. Huh?
Yeah. I was worried at the beginning.
I mean,
seems
look,
like they're hot on the trail now.
We're figuring it out, though, and that's again, he already knows how to win with lesser talent than he's got in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah,
they got to buy in, and look, they may have. I mean, the 9-3 season might be about as bad as it gets. Maybe they fall to 8-4 and 1. Boy, it better get really good next year. Shout out to Benji, no doubt.
Benji's places a pressure cooker for sure.
Hey, look, but again, in But this is a guy that didn't care about that and took the damn job. There's a lot of people that didn't want that damn job to have to follow Nick Saban. They acted like, Lanning turned it down. He didn't get offered. They acted like Norvell turned it down. He didn't get offered.
Oh, there's no
Sark admitted
Norvell.
that he didn't get offered. But Sark admitted he didn't get offered. All the Florida State fans swear that he got offered the job. Yeah, after you got beat by 60 in the Orange Bowl, I'm sure they were just aching to hire Norvell. Get out of here.
You talk about a team that's going to take a step back.
Don't you?
I can't wait for that to happen.
Don't you say nothing bad about DJU in here. You're not doing it.
I'm not saying DJU. I'm saying
Okay.
they lost
I think
bunch
they're
of
blaming on
players.
DJU. I think they lost a lot there too. They didn't give DJU.
It was built. Listen,
And if
we
you
talked
had a
about
guy
it
that
last
was-
year.
Yeah.
I told you they're a national championship contender if old boy stays
Fifth
healthy.
was the fifth. He's 0-2 against them, though, Zofix.
But couldn't stay healthy. Per
Yeah.
usual.
No, that's what it is. And
They
look,
were on
I
a
think
roll.
that Florida State was good last year. I don't really have a huge problem with them not putting them in the playoff when Travis got hurt because we saw what they had other than that.
They had
Or
this
not
is
to
my
beat 'em.
thing. They had their chance. They had
Yeah,
their chance. Go out and do something
he was
against
not
Louisville.
offered the job. Brother, you got to stop believing in that, dude. Stop believing that narrative because it's a lie.
I don't know.
It's a lie. Total lie.
Ben G, I don't think Lanning takes the Florida job. I think he has everything he needs in Eugene, Oregon. And this is coming from a guy that does part-time. We got Oregon channel.
Everybody leaves
Florida's
Oregon.
not.
Everybody leaves
Listen.
Oregon. If he'd have been offered that job, he would have taken the Bama job because everybody leaves Oregon.
But why would you when you got Phil Knight saying I want to bring Oregon and Natty and it's unlimited? You got everything you could want.
Mario, they weren't running Mario out of there, and they were giving him all that shit
Oh,
too.
Mario's a terrible coach.
He is, but he's a great recruiter.
He's terrible. You know what? Ask you this: why is it is at Billy Napier's throat to get? And you have a coach that lost to Georgia Tech because he didn't kneel, and nobody's after him.
I think that game is way more important for Cristobal to win than it is Billy. I do. You've got Cam Ward.
What's the love
You've
of
got
with Miami?
Cam Ward. You've got all these guys. They've recruited very well. They've got a roster, bro. There's not a. I don't think they're.
I know they do.
I don't think there's any but one game maybe that they're not favored to win.
It's not the talent. Is the problem?
I know it isn't.
It's that he
I'm not
can't
saying
win
that.
games.
I agree. They won 3 ACC games last year. I get it. But with Cam Ward, they should be very good. If they lose in the Swamp week 1, it's going to get awfully hot.
You
Down
think?
in Miami.
You think that's the measuring stick?
I think so. You've got a chance.
So hypothetically,
Florida's down.
Florida goes out.
You should win.
Florida
this
goes
game.
out and beats them 35-7. I don't think it's going to be that far. I think it's going to be a close game. If Florida goes out and beats Miami,
they might fire his ass that night. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's
you know what's going to happen. There's some recruits on that roster that are waiting to see if Florida is going to be something this year, and if Florida can be something, that recruiting class is putting together.
That Miami class,
yes,
yeah,
and it's going to look real bad. You take an L to Florida, and you have 4 stars starting to flip to your rival because you lost. It's going to look real bad,
especially after the shit that. Look, man, we know that Florida likes to screw it up for Miami. Look at Jaden Rashada.
Yep.
Oh man,
I just don't understand the narrative of why people Miami is going to be just this juggernaut when they.
I don't know.
They're the
who
offseason
hell you're
champs
hearing
every
say
year.
that. I don't know who the hell you're hearing say that because all of us are. Everybody that I know is like
they're ranked in the top 25.
Listen, they're talented. Well, their roster said they ought to be in the top 10. but they ain't that damn good. We know better. He's not an X's and O's guys for sure. Who's got a terribly rough? I think Florida's good. I do think that. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing about Lanning is he can hide himself until he gets to the playoff. You can lose to Ohio State because you know what? For all the money they have and all the players they have, they don't have the players that Ohio State has. If they lose that game,
That's
even
true.
at home, nobody's going to lose their shit over it.
I think it's a better game than what people think, though.
Maybe.
Boy, it could start a season
You got to
if you go
realize
and beat Ohio State week 1.
Ohio State has a top 5 defense too, on top of the offense. They're Caleb Downs added to it.
But again, we just talked about a coach that can't ever get it done. It's like, what are you doing, Day?
Here's the thing. I think it's set up for if Ohio State's going to win it, it should be right now this year. Because Chip Kelly, much better as a play caller than Day ever was, and better as a play caller than he is as a head coach too. That frees it. Ryan Day doesn't have to call the plays now, and Chip definitely calls them better.
Yeah,
they've got Chip toxic. Is probably the best at running out of that spread type of deal, or his the offense the way he does it. Think about those Oregon teams when he was at Oregon and what they did running the ball. And you've got 2 of the best running backs in the country that he can run at your ass all day. Will Howard can be shitty, and it won't matter.
Yeah.
He just can't lose games because that defense is going to be really good.
Yep. I agree. Going to be good week 1, though. I'm glad they're giving us a matchup like that. I'm going to watch it for sure.
Oh, I think it'll be fun. He's got some rope. I mean, look, I'm just saying he hasn't won a big game yet, really.
No.
You're 0-3 against Kalen DeBoer. Now.
Yep.
And I mean,
good team.
They were a good team, but were they better than Oregon? I don't know. I really like what they've done on defense there. I think Mateo Uyunglele is probably going to get it together. He looked like that guy at the end of the year last year as a freshman. And, I know you guys have been paying a lot of attention to what's going on in Oregon. They look good on the defensive side. I think that's huge for them. But offensively, they're going to be good. They're going to be real good.
Well, and DG's not going to.
They should.
DG's not gonna lose you games either.
No, he's not going to necessarily win them either.
But he's not going to lose them, and that's all they need.
Yeah, true. Most of the time, that's all you need. When you get to the playoff or you're playing somebody like Ohio State, you may need him to hit you a deep ball at the right time.
Yeah. Can you do it?
If he gets it out on time, sure. If he doesn't, no. When DG's late, the ball is short. Remember, I told you that. But you know me, I love Dylan Gabriel. I'm not a hater. Loved him. But I would tell you that he's got to get the ball out.
I don't know if Oregon had a superior team to Washington. Washington's team was darn good, and Penix.
Their
was
receivers
hot.
were not. I don't think Ohio State's receiving room was better than Washington's.
No, and Oregon's, as we saw in the draft, they're one big play catcher. A lot of teams passed up on. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No, we play. I think we play at Texas.
DG likes to underthrow the deep balls. No, he doesn't. Come on, man. He just can't get them down there. He has to get the ball out on time and to hit them in stride. I understand every once in a while that you want to pick up it's a 3rd and long or something like that, and you want to try to get the pass interference so you can get a first down. That's not every time that he's deep and misses it. He misses it whenever he's off timing. But he's not going to be that guy that throws it 40 yards. He's not. He's a 25 to 30. He can get it there. 40 yards, no.
Kyle, we're playing them at Texas. Now, I don't think Texas is a venue that Florida is going to be quaking in their boots going up against.
Get pretty rowdy there. It holds 100,000, so it could get wild. It can get rowdy, but it can also get really quiet there as well.
But there's nothing that you know that they haven't played against.
Coach I and Shawty were talking about Tennessee. He's like, yeah, they put 115 in there, but when you put 14 on them real early, they shut the hell up.
They're quiet.
Yeah.
I rewatched that Florida Tennessee game from last year, and boy, it gets quiet.
Oh. Yeah. That's like that. It's like that everywhere. I'm not going to say nothing much better about Oklahoma because they're not loud. We're not loud enough there either.
Hell, I think one of the hardest stadiums to play at is a team that's not very good, Mississippi State.
Oh yeah,
those cowbells are deafening.
Yeah. Well, and they said the same thing about South Carolina.
Oh, it's rowdy. That's
crazy, and they could be shitty, and it's going to be good. They're going to be there.
A&M same way.
They're going to
terrible. They pack that place up. Out. That's a cult. I don't know if they're wrangling snakes and stuff.
They're definitely weird.
They're weird.
I've been to 2 games at College Station, and they're not as ugly like LSU fans are wacky. Florida fans, I haven't been to the Swamp, but I know they get crazy there.
LSU at night.
Oh yeah.
They drink all day.
I know.
It's wild. I haven't personally been to one. My dad's been to a bunch, and he's a big Wisconsin fan.
Yeah, if the Palace is rocking, it's electric. I agree with you on that. But you've also been to games that they aren't like that, and that can't be that way anymore. And I think you're probably right.
Well, you know what causes it to be rocking is winning
games.
Winning games.
Kicking ass when you're there, and they've got a great record at home. I'm not saying that, but it's just
Sooner in Texas. If you go to a Mississippi State game, bring earplugs because you will have a headache like you drank a 30-pack of Old Milwaukee the next morning. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be splitting.
Unless they're really good, I don't see myself. Well, I want to go to all the stadiums, but that's not on my list of have to today. Thankfully, they won't plan for 2 years. So,
what's on your dream list?
Well, the Swamp's always been on it, but I mean all of them. I think Athens is a good place. You want to go to there? I do. All of them, man. You're going to get to go to Tennessee next year, but I'm excited about the Auburn trip this year. We're going to go. I think we're working on that to actually do some work with Shawty and Coach I, and then. Because Georgia will be at Bama that day too, later. So then Ole Miss, the Grove. I mean, everybody talks about the Grove. You've been there, haven't you?
Ole Miss?
Uh-huh.
I have not been to Ole Miss yet.
This is the best tailgating in there, other than maybe like LSU, right?
Yeah, I've heard that. LSU's wild. Well, LSU's on a.
Oh, but
I can't even explain it.
Yeah, I haven't been. I'm excited to go.
If you've been to Bourbon Street, amp that up like 9,000.
I've been to LSU, but for a basketball game one time I went to LSU, so it's not the same. But it was. But I saw the stadium, and yeah, I know how they are. But it'll be fun.
I want to get to
going there.
I want to go to Neyland. I want to go to
Yeah. Now, that's one thing. You're not wrong, Travis. Travis Strickland, welcome into the show, by the way. He says, remember OU's fight song, Boomer Sooner plays every 3.2 seconds. Yes, it will. And, Coach, I was talking about Rocky Top. That's the only one he remembers out of all the other fight songs. Is he just knows Rocky Top because they play it so much.
Yeah. I want to go to...
I promise you Boomer Sooner will be that way. Dun, 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 dun.
Jacksonville too. Mm-hmm. That Florida-Georgia game in Jacksonville.
Finally,
Boomer.
Yeah.
129. It's where hillbillies and rednecks DNA gets spliced together. That's so true.
Yeah. He's talks shit, but he's rarely wrong, like completely wrong. He could be fucked up, but it's not necessarily wrong.
I think I'm gonna try to make, because I got family up in Michigan I can stay with. I think I'm gonna try to make one of the big house games. I've always wanted to see what it's about.
I'd like to go to a game there. I've been to Penn State before. This has been a long time. Yep.
Is it wild?
They were playing Ohio State. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was amazing. It was great. It was back in the Joe Pa days, but it was really cool. It was actually, well, I was still in the Air Force, and one of my sergeants, he's from Pennsylvania, and they had season tickets, so we got to go to that. Yeah. That's cool. Freaking awesome. But it was, should definitely go to the Red River game. That should be on your list.
Yeah. Especially with
I want to go to the cocktail party for sure. I'd love to go to the cocktail party. Although it's always the same weekend isn't it the same weekend as Oklahoma?
The cocktail party?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacksonville. That's the one.
Always the same weekend. It sucks. Yeah. It'd be cool to go sooner there.
Well, you just go on a
Sooner Bowl was there against Tennessee, the Baker coming out party. That was a great game. I remember watching that one. I've never been to Neyland either. Thank you. Appreciate it. No, yeah, listen, I've never been to Neyland. I'm excited about all of them. I'm not Columbia, really. I've been to Columbia before, but that time of year is going to suck. It's going to be cold there. It's cold.
That place sucks bad.
Indeed.
Listen, I was in Missouri for
a game that I won't be at this year.
I was in Missouri for 9 months at Fort Lost in the Woods, and that was enough for me. I hate Missouri. Misery is how it's pronounced.
Misery. Yes.
You're going to some games this year, you said?
Boy in here, Ben. Huh?
You going to some games this year, you said?
Yeah, I think we're doing some different stuff, trying to work on some to get sponsorships and do some different stuff. So we're going to be doing a game day type of deal too. And we want to travel.
It's tough as a content creator to figure out if you listen. The games are fun, but I mean, you're a lot more productive sitting in the lab and just watching the games on TV. Well,
we definitely got to have a producer, but Stat Guy, if we're doing this with Coach I and them, I think Stat would probably be involved in that. And then I think it would probably be just me and Shoddy that go if we end up going to the Auburn, and then he goes to Bama, Georgia. So we'll probably be doing more tailgating than we'll be doing. I don't even know that we would go in the game for that, but we definitely want to do that. I think a lot of the content would be great, just the travel around the SEC. And because you could actually follow around a lot of these people that there's going to be Oklahoma fans that won't miss a game. There already is, but so you can kind of follow around it and really get that experience of that stuff. And I don't know, man, I've been watching a lot of content about Auburn, about Ole Miss, LSU. It's wild. I'm excited about it. But I think that fan perspective from an OU fan perspective, and then of course me being an OU fan, it's just, we can do a lot of cool content with it. And I think that's kind of where you kind of take it to that next level is by doing those kind of content stuff. You got to get focused in RV companies / barbecue joints, whatever. There's different places that you can work with, but we're working towards that.
Yeah, we're trying to map it out at High Top. It's tough. We're running 4 channels now.
That was fun last year. Cincinnati was super cool. I didn't even have expectations like that, but they've got that stadium. Nippert Stadium's the oldest college football stadium in the country. I didn't even know that until that week that we went. It was a blast. Great sports city, Cincinnati. Great sports city.
Yeah, I'm only 2 hours from there.
Yeah, you should check out Cincinnati. I'm telling you, we got done with the game because it was early. The game got over with. They had a Major League Soccer game going on in town and these huge concerts, and then they had baseball that night. I mean, all damn day. there was shit
Sports.
going on in Cincy. It was great town, great city, man. It was, and the fans were cool there too.
What always irritates me is I wish Louisville could get good, because I'm only 2 hours away from Louisville, and they have a cool stadium.
Well, see, that's not that far from there either. Yeah, I've heard that too. Well, I tell you what,
they're just not ever good.
Coach there. They've got a good coach there now. They've got a good coach there. Crap, I forgot about. I need to send that to Bomber. Let him come in. All right. Well, Cody, I hope I convinced you of what I was talking about. It wasn't that he was just trying to trash everybody in the SEC.
Just
I definitely would tell you that Oklahoma fans are sick of being trashed.
I should have just looked up the whole interview.
SEC schools. Yeah.
It was just clipped up wrong, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm not telling you they didn't do some of that on purpose. And he certainly said what he said. I mean, he said what he said. But you also had to take it into consideration of what you've been hearing if you're Oklahoma. And when guys like Barrett Sallee are saying that kind of shit, the guys at Fourth and Wrong, I like them. I like Fourth and Wrong. I like Ruffino. I like Blake Ruffino. A lot of these folks don't like him. He's been on the show. I like a lot of these guys. I like the SEC podcast. Now, Michael Bratton's been nicer lately about OU, but he got a little pissed off about it too. In the end, when you're Oklahoma and you've been kicking Texas's ass for as long as Oklahoma's been kicking Texas's ass, regardless of recruiting, and everybody, and you hear people like Barrett Sallee saying Texas could be that team in the SEC, but Oklahoma can't. You're like, fuck you. Because at some point, it's like, dude, you're gonna have to. And the reasoning behind it is just bad, right? So I'm gonna let Bomber in. We're gonna talk a little bit of realignment with him. Welcome into the show.
Hey guys.
From the College Football Mafia, Nathan Bomber Brown. What's up, my dude?
Not much. Friday morning, I had a little time. I thought I'd contribute. If I can help at all, I'm here for you.
Yeah, well, what are you hearing about this? We've been kind of going back and forth about Teddy Lehman and him kind of going nuclear on SEC programs not named Georgia or Alabama in the last couple of days, but we kind of straightened that out. Do you know Cody from High Top Sports?
We may have met once, I think.
Once briefly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bomber's channel is the place for realignment talk and news. And what are you hearing? And are they doing the renewal there, Bomber? Or you said that's today. Is they're going to make that decision on ESPN and whether they're going to renew that contract? Was that today?
No, people are, throwing all kinds of numbers out. There's no impending doom, right? There's no date certain until February next year. That's the date certain for the ACC. So what's going on right now is all the legal challenges back and forth between Florida State and Clemson and the ACC and ESPN. But probably the stuff that's top of mind now and that's bubbling up just in the last several days is this talk that if the Big Ten really isn't offering anything to the refugees of the ACC, and the SEC saying not now, and I'm not saying they are, but if that's the case, and those two schools, Florida State and Clemson, simply are not willing to humble a little bit and go back to the ACC hat in hand saying, okay, we'll stick around for a while. Our lawsuits are going to keep going, but we're going to stay here instead of writing a big check just to leave to go where. And Brett Yormark's just, you saw him all last year, just rubbing his hands together, salivating, waiting to
He's certainly aggressive. And his aggression paid off when it came to the Pac-12. I don't think that.
Oh, right.
He's not
Yeah, for
speaking
sure.
up on anybody in the ACC or at ESPN at this point. You know what
I
I mean?
I don't know. In my opinion, it looks like the ACC was completely oblivious. They weren't paying attention at all, except for maybe glorifying in the Pac-12's demise. from what I can tell from their fans, the reason it's had this effect in social media in the last week or so, some of these leaks that have come out from Big 12 media days, is because it appears to me that the fans didn't learn the lesson of what happened with the Pac-12, and their attitudes are a little bit, well, they feel they're filling their oats about their own schools, which is great. Every school and every fan can do that, but if the world doesn't need you, in other words, not an impending request, must have you, then what is your negotiating position?
That's right.
So where would be the home for Clemson and FSU if you just had to pick? What feels the best? Because we've heard, back and forth, SEC, Big Ten.
Right.
I don't think they're expanding anymore, right? Big 12 just came out and said, hey, we'll work you a deal, I guess. We'll work you up. You guys can be the top two paid programs in the Big 12 because they lost their premier programs with
Right.
Texas and OU leaving, obviously. Or can the ACC just kind of nut up and just pay them a little more?
Of course they could. That's what my fallback position has sort of gone to there. If there's all kinds of opportunities for Florida State and Clemson, again, it just takes that humble pie, right? And we're talking about very proud programs.
Now that you've already done that, it's kind of hard to unring the bell.
There's a lot of ego involved. These are very important
absolutely.
people, especially in the southeast of the country.
Well, Florida State said a lot of shitty things about ESPN and the ACC really bad, more so than Clemson. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have, but they stayed on this thing about the playoff and Kirk Herbstreit. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're like, okay, man, shut up.
Yeah,
we're done. We're done hearing it now. But I would also say that I definitely understand where they're coming from, and I get it. But it's like I said on your show last night, Palmer. I am of the opinion that if they're willing to pay you and get you close to where you would be either in the Big Ten or the SEC on whatever kind of revenue deal that they can come up with, you're better off where you're at.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay the money. If it was up to me and I was in charge of one of these schools, I would slow everything down. I wouldn't stop the lawsuit because you could still win that and get out free and clear. And then you can do whatever you want. So leave the lawsuits going, but go back to ESPN and the ACC and say, look, kind of like, look, this has happened before. It happened last year with San Diego State. Remember what San Diego State? They were going to the Pac-12, right? That was a done deal. They sent the letter in, and then a week later they said, "Oh no, sorry,"
because they never got never got okayed by those guys. Are such idiots.
Well, they never got an invite because why? Because the Pac-12 couldn't find a media deal. Morons. So that's it's similar, but it's not. I mean, it's dissimilar, but it's not so dissimilar that it shouldn't give people pause. And we learn from our history, right? That's where I come from. I look over years, decades, far back to say this is where college athletics has come from. This is where college football has migrated to. And this destination where we're at, nobody ever would have expected 10 years ago. Now we're here, and so people are having to learn new math. They're going to have to learn different ways to run their businesses. And these schools, if they don't have a landing place, it's fall to the Big 12, and I'll use the word fall because obviously they're not part of the P2. But I put personally the Big 12 higher than the ACC without Clemson and Florida State. So if you're looking for that in between place,
they are going to be better. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so look, these are the 5 things. They could continue with the lawsuit and don't talk to the ACC and just keep going. Don't leave, but don't really participate with anything in the ACC. That's one. They could break tomorrow and say, yep, we're done. We're out of here. And we'll find a home. And that could be independence. That could be.
And have to pay SEC, whatever to get out, though, to
and
pay
the Big 12.
Okay.
Or now the payment isn't over,
million, though, isn't it?
But it's not over. It's not instant overnight. It's over a payment plan.
Well, no, I'm saying if they wanted to leave, they would have to write a check to the ACC and ESPN. Whatever
That
that amount is, if they didn't settle, if they want their rights, they do. If they want their rights free and clear to go anywhere they want, they would right today without any rulings from any judges, without any judicial help or assistance. I believe that number was like $547 million to get the rights back and to pay the exit fee from the ACC if they didn't do anything else. But again, what I'm saying is I don't think they do leave. If it was up to me, they wouldn't leave. You wouldn't turn in a letter saying we're gone by August 1st. And they would just stay in the ACC, continue their legal disputes, but play football in the ACC. So at least at that point, you're still collecting some money without having to pay a huge check to leave a conference that you don't want to be in. And then the worst case scenario is you fall to the Big 12. But in my opinion, the Big 12 is probably the biggest upside today because they could help you with some of your separation money. They'll give you some money to leave the ACC to do that. And then they'll pay you a little bit more. Now, they're not going to pay a ton more than the schools are currently making. Right now, my guesstimate is about $50 million or so. But that's more than they would make in the ACC.
Sure.
And to be honest, they're a friendlier organization to work with, the Big 12 is, than dealing with the people running the ACC.
If they can get close to, if they're around 50 million, when all said and done,
yes,
they're in good shape. And again, I would tell you that, look, I think it's still going to be a tough league. If you have those two teams in that league, yes, they come in as the favorites. You know, Clemson and
of course, yeah,
Clemson's not playing the game right now.
Right.
But if they're not going to be $30-40 million behind per year,
right,
then they can still compete that way. You're not going to be able to do that. And look, I would tell you that you're going to compete better there. I know that FSU fans really don't like hearing this, but this is the facts. If you can get close revenue-wise, you're going to compete better where you are or in the Big 12 than you are in the SEC.
Yeah, I just don't know if the
I
SEC
think,
has an appetite to take them.
I don't think the SEC wants them.
I don't think the SEC wants them.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about the timing of this. In my opinion, we're only trying to get to 2030, 2031. That's when by that time the Big Ten contract will be renegotiated.
Correct.
The SEC will be on the horizon. The Big 12 will be right in the middle of their renegotiation. In that time period, what is that? 5 years now? Almost 6 years.
7.
Well, it's going to take some time for them to leave the
2030 that they make those choices. I get it.
By the time they get there, if they went to the Big 12 for a cup of coffee, and I would argue even for 4 or 5 years, it's worth it. And I think I can make the math fit that. We're working on that as a team now. Yeah. If they went to the Big 12 for a cup of coffee, just as a place to sort of build up those relationships to eventually go to the Big 10 or the SEC at that time, then who cares? What does it matter what league? What's your patch? Right?
No, I would agree. Okay, but then if you do that, then you pay to get out of the ACC. Which, why do you want to pay $300 million when you can probably get them to do the same thing for you to stay in the ACC?
Yeah, you don't have to, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what happens with the legal, all the lawsuits is going to take a lot of time to work through. I can tell you this: the ACC is not settling.
Well, all right.
The ACC has no incentive to settle.
Yeah. Do you feel that Clemson and FSU are maybe thinking that their brand power is a little more than what it is?
Well, you tell me. Who's writing checks for them to leave the ACC and join their conference?
Their brand power isn't North Carolina. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, nobody is. If they were in that high demand, they would already be in the Big 10 of the SEC.
Right. They're not.
They would have negotiated an exit from the ACC, and they would already be in those two other conferences.
I think if there's one school in the ACC that everybody really wants, it's Carolina.
Yeah, but there's different reasons for that too. Mostly it's demographics. It's not football power. It's not any of that stuff. It's all demographics. It's about North Carolina being the fastest.
Carolina's a huge brand, though. No matter, it's a huge college.
Ton of people. So it goes a lot deeper than just the best football teams on the field.
I know, but I'm saying brand-wise, Carolina's the biggest brand in the conference.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could argue that because it's a basketball brand. It's not a football brand. And we know football
it's
brands
Michael
would drive the
Jordan
bus.
brand. It's Michael
Okay,
Jordan
well,
brand.
but I mean, don't misunderstand. I know they're a brand, right? They're a brand
I
value
know,
that
I know,
drives.
and I'm not
It's
being
top 20 in the
argumentative.
country. It's top 20 in the country. There's no doubt. But
Yeah.
is it enough to by itself
It's not Notre
form
Dame
the
though,
ACC to blow up? No, it isn't.
Sure, no.
No.
And I think that would be who SEC prefers is what I was getting at. If they're going after anybody,
I agree with you.
it's the SEC would want them. But that being said, I don't know that that's necessarily something that anybody really wants to do. I know Carolina's acted like they want out, but
as
to
a
me,
SEC,
I think that I've always felt like there's ESPN could get in the way of this and say, look, let's fix this, get the ACC to relent and pay them more. You got $200 extra million out of SMU to come and not get paid.
Right. Yeah. Well,
You have the money. You can stop the lawsuits and look, and then come 2030, do whatever. But to me, I think I don't know. I think it's a mistake for Florida State and for Clemson. I get where they're coming from, but I think it's a mistake. I think it is a mistake for them to leave.
Well, and now with the playoffs, they're gonna get what they wanted. They got access to the playoffs.
Why
are you crying and complaining?
Well,
because they want respect.
Yeah.
And their conference
Listen.
told them
The
not to-
playoff thing was absolutely the nail in the coffin for FSU.
Yeah, it really was. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was kind of in my opinion, they still would have pursued leaving the ACC, but on a much slower timetable.
Mm-hmm.
If ESPN and the ACC backed them up for their inclusion in the college football playoff.
But I'm gonna say this. That's also FSU's fault that they didn't make the playoff. All they had to do is be reasonably watchable during the Louisville game. Nobody wanted to watch it.
I mean,
It was a terrible game.
They didn't exactly drill Florida either. They didn't exactly.
That's what you're saying is probably right.
It doesn't mean they didn't get screwed. Didn't mean they didn't get screwed.
If we're talking about pure, look, what's America built on? Is it a fashion show, or is it performance on the field? The NFL is all about the best teams in the field winning games, making it to playoff, and then competing. And they were told they won games, they got to the end, they won their championship. I don't care how you did it. Don't come at me and tell me, oh, you didn't do it the right way. What? I'm 13-0. What do you mean I didn't do it the right way? That's a bunch of crap. I don't buy that at all.
But you're gonna tell me that their strength of schedule is the same as the team that didn't.
That's not the
point.
point. That's not the point. They went undefeated. No, it isn't. I'm not going to do this with you, JC, because I know you and I disagree. I am just telling you. I think they got
screwed too. I believe that they got screwed in a way too. I'm not saying that it's not screwed up. Look. Right. That playoff system has been screwed up since it started.
Yes.
In all, the committee and ESPN were just lucky that it never happened until last year.
It's a fashion show.
It should have happened more than once.
Right?
Oh,
it's an invitational.
And guess what? It continues. Watch. It's going to happen more.
Well, of course it is.
But this is my thing. They would have just got their okay. So they make the playoffs. They were just going to get their doors blown off of them.
Okay, but you played a fight.
Right.
They didn't play to fight versus Georgia.
That's
Why would you? Why would you?
For pride.
I don't. Okay, you and I are going to disagree about that. They had their hearts ripped out of them, and the players that had played.
You go and make a statement.
Well,
what? Beat a team that has it doesn't.
The back-to-back defending national champion that also got screwed. Yeah, you show up to that game. I'm sorry.
Definitely, there's a side. We don't have to have this argument. I would agree with.
I think you have just as much right to your opinion as I do mine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I just disagree with you, but I also agree that I think Georgia was the best team in the playoff last year, and they didn't play.
They didn't get in it. Georgia was. And look, when you've won back-to-backs and you've got one loss and you haven't lost a conference game since 2020.
Yes.
Boy, watch out too, because that ain't going to happen again this year.
Yeah.
Well, 12 teams.
There's
now,
nothing more
different now.
There's
They
nothing
are,
okay, but there's
but how
nothing.
different?
There's
Here's
nothing more work. There's nothing worse in the world than Kirby Smart
Guys,
and
here's
being
the-
able to
here's-
feed into we're not good.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they don't like us. Here's
I don't have any
here's
opinion
right
on
here
that.
what these guys are saying. That you're never going to get 2 in. Now, I don't know that it's never, but I think that the problem with the Big 12 and the ACC is, and in the ACC this year, generally speaking, you don't really have 3, 4, 5 teams that are going to be up there with Clemson and Florida State. I think this year you kind of do. But the Big 12, on the other hand, is very competitive.
Yeah,
from
Big
top to
12 could
bottom.
get 2 teams in this year.
That's
Kansas
really
State
hard.
and Utah could both get in if
They
they
could.
basically make it to the end, I think.
But they could also get tripped up, and you
Of
end
course
up having
they
a 9-3
course.
and a 10-2 team in that championship game. You're only getting 1.
Right. I said they could. I didn't say they would.
Right.
Is,
That's what I'm saying.
Is Cam
I think that
Rising
there's
back for Utah?
More years than not,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
going to be hard for either league to get.
He's back for his 10th year.
Yeah,
Playing college
he's
football.
Doctor?
he's
Yeah,
turning
yeah.
Dr.
30
Rising?
He's turning 35. He's turning 35 this year. Cam Rising is.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
so wild.
He was in high school the same time Taysom Hill was.
Hey, Jen. Yeah,
So I don't,
that's funny. The same time as the case in here.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. No, look, I agree with what these guys are saying. Is that more times than not, the idea that access heals everything up. I don't really.
Somebody's
it's
still going to
harder.
get screwed.
You're going to get screwed, and I think
but that happens in the basketball tournament now too,
Gonna
right?
happen
You have
anyway.
the first 4 out and all that stuff.
64 is
Yeah.
different than 12, Bomber.
Until you go to some sort of a super league that has the best brands all playing football, you're going to continue to have that because it's not the same as the NFL. The NFL is built for everybody to be equal, to be 0.001% different between teams.
It's never going to be that way, though.
It's never going to be that way in college football.
Never, ever, ever going to be that way.
No, it's too.
That's never been the goal. That's one thing that I've always said too, and you've heard me say it. I know. That's look. Competition and more people having a quote chance is never been the goal.
No, it isn't.
It's never gonna be the goal either.
It's
They
money.
can tell you all they want to. It's winning and money, and yes, absolutely. But if you're the SEC and the Big Ten, you have a stranglehold on it. They're not going to let go of it.
No.
Why
You're
would you?
not just going to let go of it. No, you
There's no
wouldn't.
incentive
And
to do
again,
that.
then neither would the Big 12. If the Big 12 would have not been ineptly run for as long as it was, and I mean, if Brett Yormark comes around 12 years ago, maybe things aren't the same. Once the SEC kind of took that place, and when you started seeing all these teams like Nebraska leaving and Colorado leaving, and then Missouri and A&M, that changed the look of the Big 12. And now, and I'm not saying that the SEC wasn't getting better anyway, but when those things started happening a long time ago and things weren't, they didn't even try to replace the last two that left until.
Jason?
Go ahead.
There's a comment over there. Just my damn opinion.
Yeah, it's Shawty.
He says that's why it's going to be 2 super conferences. Look, there's Super League, but that could be any number of conferences. I could make an argument that if the Big 12 got Louisville, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson, they could argue to be the third 20-team Super League, and then you'd have a Super League. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2 conferences in one league. You could have 5 conferences in one league if you wanted to. It's all about following
like
the
20,
money.
24 teams.
I'm thinking 20
per league.
I'm thinking 20.
I
So
think
3 20 league teams, and now you're even.
Even if they tomorrow they decide to go to the Big 12, the schedule's already set. What do you do about that?
For 2 years, I would argue 2025 or 2026 is when they would switch it over.
Okay.
So not this year.
I've just seen FSU people act like we're doing it right now.
Right. And you know what I would counter if you're seeing those on Twitter? Just simple request, a question back to them. Why? What is the impending driver to force that decision now? Nobody's been able to give me one. I spent 2.5 hours last night on a show trying to have people explain it to me, and I still haven't been able to find anybody. What is the reason it has to happen now?
It doesn't.
Because they're throwing a
doesn't.
tantrum.
Shouldn't. It
Well,
probably shouldn't.
That's not
No.
a reason to do it
Nobody
now. That's
gives-
just
and
because
first
you
of
want
all,
it.
nobody gives a shit about Florida State's tantrum either. By the way,
Yeah, I'm not making an opinion about that. All I'm saying is I cannot see an impending reason to make that throw the gauntlet down in the sand today to say
Correct.
we have
Well,
to do this.
I agree.
You would think when the Big Ten and SEC cuts off ties to talking to you, you should probably self-reflect.
Yeah,
and
but
say,
we don't
hey,
know
maybe-
that's happened.
But
We
that's
don't know
not
that's happened.
that's not necessarily what's going on either. There's back
Yeah, we don't
channeling
know
going
that's
on all the
happened.
time, and these guys definitely know that side of it. What I was getting at is the Big Ten. Neither the Big Ten nor the SEC have to get in a hurry. They're at the start of a contract right now.
Yeah, there's no rush for
Adding-
the SEC or the Big
Adding
Ten.
programs, I said this to you last night. Adding programs is dilutive
Because I've even seen
for both. It's dilutive. There's not a team in either conference that's going to give up $1 to either one of those teams.
No.
I've even seen stuff where FSU fans are saying, "Well, do we just tell them we're not going to play?"
Why would they do that?
Of course they could do that, but why would they?
Yeah, I don't know. They're
Yeah.
acting like they're getting a deal done
That kills
tomorrow.
your
Though.
brand. I mean, if you really believe that you're a brand that matters, and then you don't play at all,
Yeah, that I don't see that.
it makes
happening.
no sense. Look,
There's too
again,
much
this is-
jeopardy there. There's too
Absolutely.
much jeopardy there.
I'm telling you, I think what you were saying about 2030, whatever, 2029, 2030, when they're looking at these new contracts are now a year or two away.
Yeah,
Now you've got something to talk about.
exactly. Yeah.
Right now, they
So-
can pitch their little fits and and stay in hemorrhaging money to their attorneys for these lawsuits as long as they want to. But that doesn't mean that the SEC is going to be like, oh, okay, then yeah, we'll do it.
What's
what I mean?
the technically? What's the fastest they could get out of the ACC?
If they want to write a
February?
check for $560 million, they could be out tomorrow.
But the schedule's set.
BYU shifted around a schedule around in 8 months. You can get people to play you. I would
So
say
they-
they play for this year and then they're out in 25.
I think
So technically, they could pay the money and leave
Don't
and
they have
reset
to,
the
like,
schedule.
They can
Say
buy
something
they
about-
buy their rights back from the ACC and ESPN. Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
they have to
Well,
write
don't
a
they
check
have
for
to
those rights.
announce by August that they're not going to play in the ACC for
No,
next
that's
year?
another one of
Is that a
those red
myth?
herrings people have put out there. The contract says if you
Follow
don't
that.
tell us, I think by August 14th or 15th, then you're in for another year, right? You're
Uh-huh.
in for another year in the conference. You can't leave until now 2026.
Okay.
That date is just as negotiable as the leaving number would be. I don't think the ACC would, if they'd happily cash your $600 million check. They have no reason to want you to stick around and be a poison pill for the conference. They at that point would let you go.
But they also aren't just going to let you walk for free either.
No, that's what I'm saying. Write them a check for $600 million. It's
No, I
not
get
free.
Is that
Not
per
anywhere near
brand?
free.
Is that per
Yes.
brand or is that
Yep.
okay? So
So
you're
they-
talking.
Which is another reason why you don't hear every ACC school barking to get out of the Big 12 either.
Yeah,
Cody
no,
Light-
it's
Cody
it's
Light has
silly.
this
Yeah.
idea that everybody should just want to go to the Big 12 whether it's Clemson and FSU or not. Oh no, you got to come here. Why? We're going to get paid enough that we can hold it together right here as we are and go get Oregon and Washington State. Even if you were to lose just the two or however many, you're going to backfill it. I don't know that the ACC has to come apart completely. At this moment, I'm with you that we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not of the opinion that it's going to happen quickly. I just don't see it really happening quickly. Do you?
The urgency that
I don't
I'm
see
hearing,
the ACC unraveling.
So
Go ahead.
there's two things you said there. First, the urgency to do it now. I think that's just impatience. Florida State
Sure.
people just want change. They want this to be over with. Nobody likes the long, drawn-out processes in the courts. Nobody likes that. They just want to write the letter, turn it in, say we're gone, and then we'll find where we're going to land. Well, the moment they do that, they lose all their leverage to negotiate with the Big Ten and the SEC. So if they don't have a guaranteed spot, and they could have figured something out through third-party talks, They could have a spot in the Big Ten or the SEC, but if they don't and they do still turn in the letter, now you're flying without a parachute. And it's hard for me to see that happen. So I don't think there is a big reason to make a change. Florida State people that I trust tell me something is going to change before football season. I just can't predict what that will be. It seems kind of crazy that they would go out without a for sure landing place, but maybe that's what the Big 12 is. Maybe the Big 12 is we're your sure landing space unless we can find a way to work our way back into the SEC or the Big 10.
I mean, does the Big 12 have the type of cash flow that they could help them get out if they wanted to?
Private equity. So the idea would be, and I talked to Bob Thompson about this, and he says, yeah, it is an idea that
I don't know if that's a good question or not. I'm just asking.
No, I'm trying to answer you. Yeah, the answer is they would use private equity to basically reinvest in their own league. They sign away a portion of their rights, 15 to 20%, and they get a check for $1 billion to do that. They can do whatever they want with that money. It's like a short-term loan. And then they're on the hook to repay it over a period of years. It's just like going down and getting a car loan. You're putting money down, you get the car. If you don't want the car anymore, you have to pay the money, right? So that's what this is. They would take private equity, and then they would essentially assist any schools that are in the ACC that wants to move, pay those exit fees to leave. By the way, the reason that hasn't happened already is because nobody knows what the number is. Wild Ute, who is my brother in arms here, did the math, and he works for a bank and he knows all the numbers and stuff like that. He ran the numbers, and if they were allowing schools to leave for less than $300 million, the ACC cannot sustain itself with any of the money it would get back to run. So if it's less than $300 million, the ACC is a dead conference at that point. If it's more than 300, then they could take that money, reinvest it into the league, bring in some probably G5 schools, and then sort of do what the Big 12 did. That's the problem, is nobody knows what that number is. If it's too small, then it's a jailbreak and everybody leaves the ACC. If it's too high, then nobody can leave except for maybe one or two, but you have a very wounded and hurt conference in the middle.
Okay, so wouldn't you be essentially going from one stranglehold to another if you decided to do that? Because then if you don't like the Big 12,
right,
you're hosed.
Well, so there's a couple ways to handle that. First, you could write in a contract that says you can get out in 3 or 4 or 5 years, and you don't have to pay any fees. Right? We'll allow you out. Mm-hmm. We only want you here for 5 or 6 years. So that would be one option, but there's hundreds of other options they could do. They could say, we'll lower the amount that it would cost you to leave the conference. If they get an offer from the SEC, no $100 million is going to stop them from taking that. So they could negotiate that. There's also negotiating on what the payment scale would be. One school might not get the same money than another school. Louisville might want to come to the Big 12, but they're not going to get the same amount of money that a Florida State would get. So there is some of those things you have to worry about. But my argument would be, if you work in a 5 or a 6 year deal, the amount of gain they're going to bring to the conference in that 5 or 6 years is going to offset whatever your private equity payments and cost would be. So you go up in value 30%, you owe 20% in private equity payments plus interest, you're ahead 10%. Those schools leave, and now your conference is that much more high, that much higher in the table. That's what I would argue.
Is that legal for the Big 12 to tell them that we're gonna do that when they're already in a contract? FSU and Clemson.
No, nothing can happen officially until they get their separation from the ACC. They can have third-party talks.
You're really you're praying on a handshake and that they come through.
No, that's not that. Sorry, this is not the alliance in this neighborhood. No, Brett Yormark's not going to do a private equity deal, and wouldn't certainly sign off on anything until they leave the conference.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not stupid.
Yeah, I think the major thing that we were trying to get at is I must have heard you wrong last night, but it could happen at any point, but it doesn't seem imminent, and that's I wanted
No, it's
to kinda
urgent
get-
from Florida State and Clemson, probably
I
just
understand
Florida
that.
State fans. But I cannot see a reason outside of Josh Pate's tweet. I cannot see a reason that they need to rush to leave the ACC today.
Here was the
So-
one money question I want to ask one, and this will be the last thing we ask about. But I just wanted to ask this: is because you made it sound like a loan. Is it? I thought it was equity. Equity would mean 20% forever.
So there's all kinds of private equity deals.
Okay.
Again, Brett Yormark has done this. He was in the NBA. He worked for the Brooklyn Nets. He brought back at NASCAR, so people actually started watching it again. He
Yeah.
knows how to do this stuff. And I
Brett Yormark's
guarantee
good.
you he's got some. Look, we wouldn't have had the leaks coming out of Big 12 media days about private equity. We wouldn't have heard the stuff about Louisville possibly coming to the Big 12 via private equity leaks a few weeks ago if there wasn't something out there. I think Brett Yormark's got something worked out. He's got partners down the line.
Yeah.
They know exactly what each school would get, what their value would be, and I guarantee you they have some sort of a plan to either exit or live with that, because it's a revolving line of credit, right? The longer those deals go, they have partnerships with media companies. One of the companies that he's been talking to is CVC. They're sort of partners with Endeavor. That CVC company has international media deals all around the world. Partners all around the world.
Mhm.
So they could use their relationships to, hey, I don't know, go on free TV or do something with Amazon. I mean, I'm saying the sky is the limit with Brett Yormark.
Absolutely.
He's
And
not
I
in
think
it. He's not in it just to piss on anybody's leg.
Well, and that's
is-
what I think about Yormark is that I said earlier, I think if had he been in charge of the Big 12 10 years ago,
Oh yeah,
things
it would
could have been a
different.
lot different. And what I would
Yeah.
say is that this is a guy that didn't come from the athletic director ranks. This is a money
No.
dude. This dude
No.
knows money and how to make it. And so
Yes.
I think that's where the Big 12 is in an advantageous position, is that they have a guy that knows what he's doing. Much like we saw the Pac-12, Kliavkoff was in over his skis. when it came
So was
to-
Phillips. I
And
would
I
argue
was thinking
Phillips
the
the
same.
exact same way.
Tony Phillips, same thing. Yeah. So I would agree with you.
I
Ray.
do have a question. Why does it have to be a package deal? I just feel like Clemson is not as, maybe they're just not as loud on Twitter about leaving the ACC. I know FSU is, but why does it have to be a package deal?
It doesn't. Nobody's saying
Okay.
it does. Yeah, no, Clemson, they're separate from Florida State. They can make their own financial decision. The other reason we're talking about Clemson at all is because they filed suit against ESPN and the ACC.
Right. That's right.
We're not
Gotcha.
making that up, right? They're the
No,
ones who sued us.
I just they don't
Yeah.
seem as loud about it, I guess.
They're not. No, they're going about it a little different. And I would say this from a personality level. I've heard Clemson is being treated a little bit nicer than Florida State is being treated. Don't know why. I don't have the reasons, but relationships are a big deal in realignment, and one is looked at a little bit different than the other right now.
So FSU
Okay.
technically could be the only team to leave the ACC
Sure.
at
Absolutely.
this point.
Yeah, but in my opinion, once Florida State leaves, well, I know this for a fact. Clemson and Florida State account for about 35% of the media value that the ACC currently has right now. 30 to 35%. Take that 30 to 35% out of the ACC, and they're in an $18 to $20 million league. So at that point, does Clemson want to stay in a league that is that distressed? I don't think so. I think once Florida State's gone, it's just going to be dominoes.
So
They
you
might
don't
stay
think
together as a league, but they're not going to be. It's going to be P3 and then others.
The only pushback I have about that, I get what you're saying, is then you're dominating the league. You have your playoff spot, and perpetually you're just in the playoffs every year if you're Clemson. Because
Okay.
I don't know of another team in the ACC that's really going to come out in the woodwork and beat you. It just I don't understand why Clemson would leave. It just I don't know.
I'm not sure how much you followed the Pac-12 drama, but Tony Altimore told everybody for over a year that one reason that Washington and Oregon were staying in the Pac-12 was so they had easier access to the playoff. How did that turn out for him?
They didn't turn
Was
out
that-
well.
That's a red
That is-
herring. There's
Yeah.
no story there at all. That's just people putting out stories to try to make themselves more appear to be smarter than they are.
acting
There
like
is
research
no
dollars had
reason.
anything to do with the
They're not
freaking
going to stay.
athletic stuff,
They're
too.
not going to stay in the ACC just because they have an easier path to the playoff. You're talking
That's a fact.
hundreds of millions of dollars difference.
The
in
money
media
is
deal.
different. That's
It has nothing to do
always
with
go back
access
to
for the
money.
playoff.
You always go back to the money, and we said that all last year with the Pac-12, the last 2 years with the Pac-12,
Yeah.
that no matter how much research money Washington was getting,
It has nothing to do with it.
it had jack shit to do with any of
Nothing
it.
to do with it. Yeah.
You know, and there is plenty of money that goes on with the AAU and all that other shit.
Sure.
They're talking about that stuff here now too. Bullshit. If you can get one, but now I would say I'm not positive that the Big Ten wants them that much either, because I think you said something earlier that made a lot of sense. If they're so popular and sought after, why are they still there?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Why?
I don't
Somebody
know.
tell me. Somebody tell me.
I'm with
Because I
you,
can't.
yeah.
That's the question that keeps coming and rattling in my head.
Yeah.
If there is this urgency, something Josh Pate's tweet and all the noise and smoke over here, and if there really was something that urgent, what is the difference from tomorrow to 3 weeks ago? Nothing has changed. There's been a few court rulings, but the money's not different. The partnership agreements aren't different. The relationship with the ESPN's or the ACC is no different. There is nothing else that's changed. So why would Josh Pate be leaning towards something with the ACC at the end of this month? Why didn't that happen in June or May? Nobody can answer that question for me, because I can't see one reason that really is concrete different.
No, and I think the only way, I think that if anything's happening soon, it would only have to be that they shut all of it down and they're going to give them more money to stay. That's the only thing I could see.
Yeah, I don't know. That
How,
maybe-
I mean, I
how
could be
much more
wrong,
money
but
are
it's
they
just-
asking for?
They want generally what the SEC and the Big Ten are paying out. That's right around $60 to $70 million a year.
For just those teams, just those top tier teams.
Well, that's what they
top
think
tier.
they're worth. That's what they think
Yeah.
they're worth. But
nobody
what
wanted
was
to pay
the
them that.
Pac-12 worth? Was Pac-12 worth 50 a team? How did that work out, Mr. Mark Harlan up on the hill at University of Utah? Pac-12 was never worth 50 million. Never worth 50 million once USC left. I don't care who's
bullshit.
watching, Genetics or Baltimore. It was never worth that. And you know how I know that? Because the Pac-12 is
They
now
didn't get
gone.
it because they
And
didn't get it.
So you
Yeah.
can ask for whatever you want.
Yeah.
Florida State and Clemson can ask for whatever they want. It's a free
They
country.
overvalued themselves
But
for
what is their value to the
they
conferences and to
overvalued
the media
themselves
partners?
right out of being existent. Look, I would tell you this. It took Brett Yormark doing everything right and the Pac doing everything wrong.
Yes, it did.
And everything, by everything, I mean every damn move was
Yes.
wrong. Had it not been for the Pac, if the Pac-12 would have just got one thing right,
Right.
the Big 12 dies instead.
Is there a possibility that say FSU comes up with the money, buys out, that they kind of get hung out to dry?
Yes. Until there's paper, a signature on a piece of paper
They're
somewhere,
already right,
they
yeah.
are floating. They're a free agent at that point. Yeah.
And then what do you do?
What do? Do you go to the Big 12? That's why we're having these Big 12 conversations. That's why
They don't have
people
the
made
urgency.
fun of
You
them
guys
2
got to
weeks
keep
ago.
watching it.
People make fun of them 2 weeks ago. They thought there's never going to happen. Florida State, all the bad things they're saying about, and Clemson a little bit about the Big 12. Those people are shutting up now
Yeah, they are.
because they know they might not have a destination in the SEC or the Big Ten. Until they do, they don't.
Mhm.
You have
That's
to have
right.
a place to play football somewhere. They could go independent. I can tell you right now, the investment is $30 million for a communications building, and then you have to come up with your own media contracts. Could Florida State do it? Yes. Is it a long road and not worth it? Yes. Because BYU did it, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
And then you would in turn
Unveiled.
lose your access to the playoff,
You would.
correct?
You would no longer have your guaranteed G5.
And I
or
don't think
P5.
that's the route they want to go.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah.
No. They want leverage. They've lost all their leverage. That's why they're so mad now. Is the
It was
jelly's
kind of,
out of
I
the
think it
jar.
was always kind of a knee-jerk reaction, right? It was all,
Well,
it was,
again, San Diego State.
Facts.
We have seen this movie before, guys. It's
We
the
have.
same movie. We're
We have.
watching it again.
We're having a rerun here, and guess what? Altamore is involved in it again. Only we don't get to see it all the time because he.
Yeah, I don't see.
I don't care to, but I just.
He and genetics. He and genetics or something else though.
Clowns is what
they haven't gotten one thing right in 2 years, and yet they still claim like they got stuff right.
Yeah,
it absolutely blows me away. People listen to those two.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
It is
Look,
a joke.
I think in the end, there's still a lot to go. I'm glad you came in and told us a little bit about it, man. And you're
problem.
the man. And guys, make sure that you get over the college football mafia, the Big 12 mafia. Let me get and put it all up on the screen so that people can find you, and then you just tell everybody where to find you as well.
Sure, yeah. So there's my hashtags. You can find me on Twitter. We have a couple of brands that are really big, the Big 12 Mafia and College Football Mafia. You can find us both on both of those on YouTube. We have shows, 5 or 6 shows a week, usually in the evenings. And we're talking realignment. We want to talk football. This week, I woke up Monday morning wanting to talk Big 12 media days and football. Who's going to win the league? And we've gotten swallowed by realignment. So eventually we'll make it there. But right now, realignment pays the bills, and that's what we're going to. I mean, that is our subject matter. If we were subject matter experts at anything, it would be realignment.
I just learned a bunch.
Hey, I've said it a ton of times. If you're not watching the Big 12 Mafia, you don't know shit about conference realignment, because these guys are absolutely on top of every bit of it. There's a team on top of every bit of it. There's one place I go to get conference realignment news. That's it. And they're all coming to you. All the guys that are in the mix of that, even from that aren't part of your channel, go to your channel. So it's the place to be for sure. So
I appreciate
you coming in and I love your stuff, man. I enjoy watching it and appreciate having you on, man. Love getting to hear all this stuff. And we, I think that it's the one thing about it, conference realignment is very emotional. It's emotional, man.
Oh, sure it is.
I mean, it's about money. It's always going to be about money. It's a financial thing, but there's so much emotion behind it, which is what you love about college sports. But it is. It sucks that you're wasting emotion on these things instead of what's going to happen in the games. But
I appreciate.
We just need football back already.
We do. I think everybody wants football back. I think everybody, including Florida State fans, want football back. So
yeah.
Professor, it's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thanks for, sorry if my questions weren't all that great, but I learned a whole bunch about it.
No, you me. That was awesome.
They were the right questions.
I was just because I only see one side of it. I only being a Florida having Florida channel and being a Florida fan and stuff like that. I only see, crazy FSUs being crazy FSU.
Right. Well, I mean, you guys have a whole different universe down there for competition in Florida, so I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. But yeah, you guys are is this the year you guys get over the hump, or is your coach going to be on the breadline at the end of the year?
So he's not on the hot seat as everybody is saying, unless it goes terribly bad, because DJ Lagway is attached to the hip to Billy Napier. It's already been told that's why he's there.
Okay.
And I think we could shock some people. I think the roster's extremely talented. I think we made some adjustments where we need to make adjustments, but the game's got to be played, and so it's a tough schedule. But there's a lot of question marks with a lot of teams on that schedule. We just don't know what we're gonna get. Right? We don't know if South Carolina is gonna be great. We don't know, young guy at Tennessee. We don't know if he's gonna light it up. There's a lot of question marks. It's not as cut and dry this year as what it usually is with what you think teams are going to be in the SEC.
Okay. Well, I've always liked Florida. Never had any problems with Florida people. So good luck to you. And Jason, if there's anything I can do to help you guys, all you got to do is ask. You know that.
Man, I do know that. We need to get together and talk about some of that other stuff anyway.
We do. Yeah. Well, maybe once the football season starts and things settle down a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I got some time over the weekend if you want to give me a yell or something like that, or whatever. But
why don't you call me if you have stuff you want to talk about? Just give me a call.
Cool.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you a lot for coming in, man. We appreciate it.
You guys have a great weekend. Okay.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right. Nathan Bomber Brown from the Big 12 Mafia, College Football Mafia. Make sure you guys get over there and check him out for your conference realignment news. Yeah, the Fighting Aaron Hernandez is no love here. You guys are wrong, but I love it. It's you know what you're gonna get around here. Whoop! All right, guys. Yeah, his YouTube channels. It's look up Big 12 Mafia, College Football, CFB Mafia. Definitely you'll find it there. And actually, I could just throw it in there for you. I'll put it in there. I'll actually, and it'll be in the. It'll definitely be. I'll put it in the description after we're done, and we're done here. So we're gonna. Cody, I appreciate you coming in, man. Tell us about what you got going on as far as high top recruiting and everything. You guys are staying on top of it. This is a busy season, right?
Yeah, we're really busy. So we got obviously High Top Sports. That's the main channel on Wednesdays. More Florida based, obviously, but a lot of SEC stuff. So just because it's not all Florida talk, we go over a range of stuff. It's a fun show, and then we have High Top Sports Recruiting. I just released an Oklahoma video about your wide receiver core, what you're bringing in 2025. I like it a lot. Got some very, very good kids. I've already posted the defensive video, the offensive video, and then at the end of the recruiting season, I'm going to redo an update, and when their senior film comes out, and double down. OU is always good to me, so I produce quite a bit of content for them. But there's a lot of content out there. If you're just looking for content, Big 12 or Big 10, we do have an Oregon channel that is just ramping up. We started that thing about 3 months ago, and we're 100 away from 1,000 subs. So it's really booming. But yeah, you just type in High Top Sports Recruiting or High Top Sports or High Top Sports Oregon. You'll see us there.
Okay. Yeah, let me I'll pull this off for just a second. Real quick. Thank you, Stomach Hawk, for the super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. We enjoy bringing it to you. We've had 1,000 people in here watching. We are at 60 likes. So if you haven't hit that like button, please make sure you do that. Thank you guys, everybody, for coming in. Cody, I appreciate you coming in and having that discussion. And I'm glad that we're able to, we're good friends, so we are able to kind of, talk about these things a little differently. And
well, it opened up my eyes too that he was responding to something, and it's tough. I should just watch the whole thing, but it's tough when you just see clips. I mean,
sure,
people see clips of stuff, and and that's the name of the game.
Sure, absolutely. Hey, look, man,
and content creation.
Shit, somebody said, and they said it on Crane and Company yesterday, and I was laughing when they said this. There was like, well, Oklahoma fits right in. We're all crazy. Every fan base.
Just my damn opinion. Oh, I do UGA content, by the way. I have quite a few of their videos up. I don't hate. Listen, the recruiting channel, I take my Florida bias off, and it's as real as it gets. If I think you have the top class defensive line, I'm going to tell you got the top class. If I think you got the wide receiver core, I'm just going to play it how it is.
I'll back you up on that one. This is the most look. For the recruiting gurus and all these guys out there, nobody's like this one. I absolutely love watching Cody, the professor, when he starts talking recruiting, breaking down film. It's entertainment, but he picks them out too good, very well. He's doing a lot of stuff with, Oregon, Florida, but it's a national show that he does anyway.
Yeah, so I do OU, I do Georgia,
breakdown, Texas, all of
Syracuse.
So,
I do Syracuse because Fran Brown is up there killing it.
Right?
Killing it.
Listen, the show is good. As much as I was just talking about Bomber and the Mafia, what they are to Realignment, High Top Sports is becoming with recruiting as well. I mean, on three and that's not who they're trying to be. First off, I think but they're doing a good job and a smart job of the way they're doing it. I love their stuff, and not most of these recruiting expert, quote unquote, I don't buy their shit anyway. They look at it a different way here, so I appreciate it.
The the thing with the recruiting show is I don't care where they go. I'm just excited for the kids. I'm excited to break down the film. I get just as jazzed up for a Florida running back to
And he
hurdle
was
somebody
jazzed up.
as a Georgia running back to hurdle somebody. Listen, I that's why I said Georgia's got the top running back class in the nation, because I did my research, I did my homework, and boy oh boy, you talk about good. There's a lot of good talent out there, and it's really fun when I get to see it, and then it translates to next year. Listen, Oklahoma fans, Jaden Jackson is the guy. Okay, I'm gonna say it now. He is gonna be a pivotal piece. I saw it. He did it at the top level at IMG, and he is gonna be something special. And I think he's gonna translate the fastest out of that power line group of last year. I know Stoney's good. I get it. But there's just something about Jaden Jackson that you just can't quantify.
Yeah, no doubt. Look,
Boy, yeah, USC, I made a video
all
about
you
them,
can
and
do.
I thought they were turning it around.
It's
Not
tough.
good.
And I think the thing with them is that they have to find a way. Now, I'll tell you, fight on, make sure that you get ready for the next video I got coming out. I did that stuff with the CFB professor, not Cody, Eric McClintock. There's a lot of talk about, and they've got USC doing very well in the Big Ten, which could flip it around. I think that's what it hinges on, though. I think Lincoln has to win, and it better be more than 8 games. The schedule sets up pretty well for him to do so. It's a matter of if you do have enough on that defensive side to be able to stick together the whole year. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But according to these guys, and they've gotten a lot of stuff right in their 7 years of being out there. They're better than the ESPN FPI. So stay tuned for that one coming up with us. Look, I talked about a lot of that. We talked about, obviously, Oklahoma. We talked a little bit about Georgia. We talked a lot about the Big Ten as well. So, look, it's definitely a good one. It's about a 45-minute video. I got some editing I got to do and some graphics that I need to work on, but it'll be out this weekend for sure. Make sure you guys get in here and check that out. We appreciate it. Oh, I know you can. I know you've got that guy. Yeah, the one thing Lincoln does very, very well is scheme offense. It's not always great for his defenses, but he can scheme the offense. So I'll give it there. And Michael, you're right. Hey man, we all love us some Teddy Lehman, it's like I said earlier, he was telling everybody to back off of that stuff the week before, and then he got enough of it, I guess, too. So that's why it got said. Anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody coming in. We've already been going for over 3 hours. I got to get over here and take care of this damn dog. And I got to get some food in myself too. So I appreciate everybody coming in. Thank you, Shoddy, Michael Deesh, Fight on Natties, Timothy Green. Thank you so much. Jimmy Lee Baker, Summit Hawk. Thanks again, sir. Neilio, Hankster. Who else we got? A bunch of people. Man, we've had a ton in here. Let's see. Sooner in Texas, Jimmy Satterfield. Let's see. I don't want to miss anybody. I know we've had a ton of people.
Yeah, quite a few super chats too. Good show.
Yeah, Ben G.
All right,
Greg
guys,
Williams.
I gotta make the kiddos some food. We'll see you.
Thanks for coming in, bud. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Cody Sprague, the professor from High Top Sports. Obviously, Greg Williams again, Ben G, Neilio, Keaton, Galactagon, Jen Kane. Thank you for dropping in as well. Let's see. Travis Stripling, Michael Deesh, Tony Johnson. I saw you. I knew I saw you in there. Want to thank all the people that always come in as well. Jamie Baby. We've had a ton of folks in here today. Donovan Milliken. Man. Obviously the regulars, you had Bishop Frank and Stephen G. Man, we've had pretty much everybody in here. Love it. Kyle DePuis, Sooner Bo. Man, if I missed anybody, y'all put too many damn things in there. That's why. Brian Sandland. Don't want to miss him. Want to thank everybody for coming in and sticking it out with us. I hope it was entertaining for you. We had a lot of fun. And thanks a lot again, as always, for coming in. We'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, before we jump into the topics for the day, I just wanted to take a moment to shout out our partners at Hall of Fame College Football, Mint Mobile. Look, I am super grateful for this partnership with Mint Mobile because, let's be serious, if you're anything like me, you're overpaying for your wireless service. But with Mint Mobile, you can get everything you get with big wireless, aside from the big price tag, for as low as $15 a month. Speed, coverage, data, 5G access, mobile hotspot. It's all available right there on Mint Mobile and for way less than you're used to paying at your big wireless carrier. How do they do it? Well, they basically just reimagined the entire wireless experience. No more dealing with a pushy salesperson. Everything you do with Mint Mobile is right through its app on the phone that you already own. You can literally go and purchase your service and activate it right now. TryMintMobile.com/HOF is our partner link. And if you sign up today, you can get 3 months of unlimited talk, text, and data for just $45. That's $15 a month for the best package they have for 3 months. If you could get it with big wireless, you can get it right here on Mint Mobile. Check it out and thank me later.